75 years old, and I still wake up with a little guy saluting me.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy.
You wanted this, right? You wanted the real deal? That's what this is. Wake up. You're in the middle of it.
You better wake up and listen to what you're saying.
Which is a morning show. Wake up.
What the hell? Wake up, everyone.
Extra Layer Wednesday. Mark Dykton sweatshirt, Andy Sweeney sweatshirt. I've got pants on. Is this the first time you think? Not to get too much into our wardrobe
You
here.
never wear pants.
Well, considering
Great.
how Notre Dame's been having a week,
sure.
you haven't been wearing many pants at all.
No, by the way, shout out to listener Pam. Went to go grab some shoes for Rosie Bowe yesterday. She's a growing young girl, and all of a sudden there's Pam in her truck in the parking lot at DSW. Rolls down the window, says hi. She says she's the 13th female listener in the history of the show.
Well, congratulations. I don't know if she gets a prize or not. There's some old trash laying around the studio. Maybe
Hey, we have a
can
lot
find
of
her.
prizes to give away today.
Oh, we do. Yes, we do, sir. Yeah, today it's happening. I look down at my app like I do in the morning, and usually it's 60. At this point, it's in the 60s, and it's going to get into the 70s, and it's not bad. But I noticed today it was 50 degrees. In fact, I think it said it when I woke up this morning, KB, is 49 degrees, and it's fat man weather. It's shorts and sweatshirt weather, baby. Come on. If you're above 200 pounds, 220, you know what I'm talking about.
Rejoice, right?
Rejoice.
Rejoice on this Wednesday.
But also it means that everyone's going to get sick here in about 3 weeks.
Luckily, it doesn't look like it is here to stay too much. And for Friday night, frankly, I'm just happy that it looks like good weather for the high school scene because we've not had that in recent weeks. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Wake Up Call right here on 93.5, 107.5. Kevin Bowen, Andy Sweeney, and Mark Dykton. We will get word today on Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. Both of those names certainly speak for themselves and their health status heading into Week 5 in Jacksonville. Does Anthony Richardson need to practice to play?
It's a great question. It's going to be the question,
Because
going
we see
this
that
week.
with quarterbacks. We see quarterbacks miss practice time, yet still playing a game. 8 games into his NFL career. Has he gotten to that status?
I don't think he probably has. I got to be honest. I think that's going to be the question. Steichen talks today what time? 12:30, 11:30, something like that?
Just before noon. Yep.
Yeah, so Jake and Jimmy will have the chance to have a conversation about that. Coming up at 7:30, I want to ask you a very similar thing on how my opinion, and I don't know why last night it happened, KB, but my opinion on Anthony Richardson playing this week has probably changed. I'll give you a hint on how I feel. Do I think he can not practice and play effectively? I am very unsure. Do I think they should try? I think they probably should. How does that sound? How's that for a tease?
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
I
think they probably should. At some time, we got to stop babying Anthony Richardson. If he can play, go out there and play.
And that will be obviously the major topic here on this Wednesday morning. The Colts did place a notable player on injured reserve yesterday. We'll hit on that. And any insurance for Matt Gay on the roster is no longer there. So we'll certainly touch on that. Stephen Holder going to join us coming up at 8 o'clock today. Pacers had their first training camp practice yesterday. I don't think it's of anyone's surprise that a one-on-one tournament would lead to a Benedict Mathurin hoisting that crown. That doesn't seem to be a worry with Benedict Mathurin. It's more of the other stuff. But nonetheless, good to see him healthy. It is kind of funny. I saw Tony East tweet out yesterday the second unit for the Pacers, and it didn't have Ben Shepherd in it. Yet Ben Shepherd started a game in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay, I wrote that down because I saw that too, and I go, well, who's missing? I go, oh, Ben Shepherd's missing,
Which is, again,
who started in the Eastern Conference Finals.
It is a great problem to have. I don't know if Rick Carlisle threw out the number with us yesterday, but, I mean, it's a legit 11. Obviously, we just said Ben Shepherd would be 11 from yesterday, that second unit, for those curious. T.J. McConnell, Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker at the 3, which Rick Carlisle mentioned to us a couple weeks back. And then, of course, Obi Toppin and Isaiah Jackson there. So less than a week away from the Pacers and their preseason opener. And how about this? I usually strongly hate anything on the conference realignment standpoint. I hate it all.
So you've hated college athletics for the better part of 10, 12, 13 years then.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've gotten over it, but
Notre Dame's been immune in other ways.
I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm a geography nerd.
Okay,
so,
are you? You're a geography nerd. Okay.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Yesterday, it makes sense, though.
Okay.
Gonzaga should be in the Pac-12.
Did you see they tried to go get Grand Canyon was on the wish list?
See that.
Which
Yes.
is a school I would actually like to see.
Shout out to Bryce Drew. It's right there as you fly in
Oh, is it?
to Phoenix. Oh, yeah. Right there.
Okay. I forgot Bryce Drew was there. How do you like that? A shout out to Bryce Drew at 7:05 in the morning.
The Pacer
I like
player,
that.
right? What's the guy that threw the pass? Sykes was his last name. I believe he was a
Oh, I should know the answer.
MLB
I should know the answer to that.
prospect at one point there.
Yeah, I should know the answer to that.
But doesn't that make sense? Gonzaga to the Pac-12?
Well, I mean,
can you get behind that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can get behind it, but I don't even know. Like, I'm the guy. I was never the guy. When I did sports radio in Louisville, KB, I felt like I knew every alignment move. If someone thought in their mind, if an AD across the country didn't tell anybody, but thought about moving their school or, school president somewhere else to another conference, I feel like it immediately entered my mind that I knew. I don't know who's in the Pac-12. I don't mind saying I have no idea who they're joining in the Oregon State. Is that who's there?
Probably because
you've been Pac-12?
Probably because you've been married and you've had a kid, which priorities start to change. You've got Boise State.
Right.
You've got San Diego State.
Right.
I mean, San Diego State, very accomplished college basketball
Made a Final Four a couple years ago.
Colorado State, right? Fresno State, some of those. And then the holdovers.
Some of those.
Is it Oregon State and Washington State?
Yeah, I think
those were the two?
Those were the two that were left
Someone tweeted
behind.
out the Pac-12 standings after week 1, and they had Oregon State and Washington State 1 and 2.
Well, I mean, it's better conference-wise. I've always said Gonzaga, they get in their basketball like their conference play. Not their non-conference, okay? Because they do go and play in the non-con, and they have to because when they get to the conference play, they get 2 matchups with St. Mary's,
right?
And otherwise, it's a lot of Pepperdine.
And again, life after Mark Few. That'll be something to watch here. Probably not, in the immediacy, but certainly.
Did he leave?
Certainly down the road.
He's getting up there.
They're staying in the Pac-12. It's not happening until 2026, so
right.
That will be a huge storyline. By the way, you will see some storylines out of Chicago here coming up the next day or so. Big Ten Media Day on the men's basketball front. Braden Smith, your Big Ten Player of the Year preseason-wise. For Purdue. I believe he was just one of 2 unanimous selections for the Big Ten first team, and they put like 10 guys on that first team there.
It's such a sellout.
It is pretty wild. You start to look at the Big Ten,
sellout.
And I mean, I hate to go here, but I will. I think Jalen Harrelson was onto something when he talked about NBA prospects in the ACC versus the Big Ten. Did you look at the Big Ten first team?
I did look at the Big Ten first team.
I
did.
They've got the Rutgers dudes who might go high in the draft.
Who will probably go high in the draft. They'll be there for 6 months in Piscataway.
And then is Umar Ballo
a
lottery pick? Is Braden Smith cracking the NBA draft round 1?
Hey, settle down. You always say nice things about Braden Smith.
Oh, he's great. But
he is.
NBA talent in the Big Ten has been a question. And I think if you look at their first team, you will see why it is a question. That's what I'm getting at.
Mark, do you like how he brought it back to Jalen Harrelson
He always finds a way.
in the decision he made 5-6 days ago? That's fantastic.
Check out a 2025 NBA mock draft. See how many ACC guys are in round 1.
Can I ask you something on the Colts? So Tyquan Lewis goes on yesterday. Just to go back to it does, and I'm like, I ask you this. I think yesterday, just in passing in the 9 o'clock hour, but like. I guess I don't know how to view it. I don't know if I view it as, I think the best way is with all of these injuries, thank God the Colts are playing the teams that they're playing. I mean, we understand that, right? I mean, coming up is Jacksonville. Jacksonville right now is the worst team in the NFL, and then it's Tennessee, and Tennessee offensively is not that far behind. Although that defense is nice, and then the Dolphins right now, with whoever they have outside of Tua at quarterback, is pretty substandard. I mean, I thought Scoop Huntley was terrible the other night, and we talked a little bit about that. I don't know if it's good. Now is the time to face these teams because you have the injuries, or if you didn't have these injuries, we would probably be puffing our chest out a little more for Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Miami coming up. But the other thing, and I wrote this down, we kind of had this discussion off the air, and you brought up the Rams, and there's some other teams, but I mean, right now, I would if this is a poker hand, I'd go all in with the Colts being the most injured team in the NFL. I mean, just with who they have. I mean, DeForest Buckner.
More than the 49ers?
Well, I mean, the 49ers would probably be the other one. Now, they did last week get Deebo Samuel back, and Ayuk has been playing this season. I mean, McCaffrey is a huge deal. Don't want to act like it, but, they had basically their whole offensive line. George Kittle was back and caught a touchdown. But, I mean, when you talk about the decimation of the defensive line, dealing now with another Jonathan Taylor injury, dealing with all of the Anthony Richardson stuff, they're going to be dealing with his injuries. I mean, right now, if you gave me a poker hand, I'd probably go all in with the Colts being the most injured team in the NFL. I'm trying to think about how we're going to view that going forward with this football team.
Yeah, that's always a hard one for me to answer. I just live in such a Colts bubble, and usually the only team I really get exposed to, non-Colts, in a given week is the opponent. And I want to say Jacksonville missed 6 starters last weekend. So, I mean, again, I think nearly everybody is banged up. I mean, maybe the Colts a little bit more so right now than some others. But
they're depleted at D-line, are they not? I mean, is that the word? Is that the right word to use?
Again, it's like Jacksonville the Colts missed 3 D-line starters last week, and Pittsburgh missed 3 O-line starters.
Yeah, one of them's done for the season.
Again, a lot of them, this is just a little bit of life in the NFL. Certainly the Colts have some notable injuries. I'm not going to deny that at all. And right now, when you look at it, this is obviously a big onus on Chris Ballard in that he believes in his D-line depth. And, if you look at your potential starting D-line for this week, even with those injuries, you're still starting, I think, 3 first-rounders and Grover Stewart. Or I should say 2 first-rounders, Dayo Odengbo, who's a second-rounder, and Grover Stewart. So, Again, there's plenty of investment into that room, but still, obviously there are some notable losses up front. And again, just for Lewis, as I said earlier, it just sucks. I mean, this is a guy that's been through so much injury-wise in his career. If you watch the play that he suffers the elbow injury, and it sounds like there is a chance he could return this season. If you watch the play he injures that elbow, that's the wild, chaotic, errant snap at the end of the game. And Lewis does an incredible job. And I don't know if he had the wherewithal or not, but he makes sure he gets off the field on that play.
That's a great point.
And if he stays on the field writhing in pain,
right,
amidst all the Pittsburgh chaos of lining up for the 2nd and 20 million, the Colts would have had to call a timeout. And that would have given Pittsburgh, obviously, a timeout. It would have let them catch their breath, let them line up, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe they're not in as much of a chaotic state as they were in for 2nd down, 3rd down, and 4th down. So, what a play, frankly, by Lewis, just to get off the field. And again, last week he battled through calf and wrist injuries to even play in that game. And, last year he played in every single game, which was such a big, big moment for him because he had suffered so many injuries. I think it was single-digit seasons he had game-wise in 4 of his first 5 years. So, you absolutely hate that for them. The trickle-down effect off of that, as we saw some roster moves for the Colts yesterday. Practice squad-wise, I know a lot of these don't get a ton of news. Were you surprised to see Spencer Schrader, the undrafted kicker out of Notre Dame, will let go?
I mean, I want to say that I am, but they are just all in on Matt Gay. And so, and Matt Gay costs you a game. I don't want to hear it. They're all in on Matt Gay. I understand why. They gave him a silly contract for a kicker, and now you got to sit on it. Probably not the way I should have said it. Sit in it. You want to save that, Mark?
I probably have to.
I'll just take a deep breath off of that one.
Oh, man, it's 7:13 in the morning.
We can blame that on the chill in the air.
You can blame that on the chill. You can blame that on the coffee if you want. We still got to get to Donovan McCulley transferring from Indiana. We'll do that. Obviously, all the Devontae Adams stuff. Stephen Holder, yesterday I heard him on with Jake. He does think, by the way, that Anthony Richardson has a great chance of playing on Sunday. I'm sure you we'll see if you feel that way. And then I have I need you guys' help on something. I actually have a dad dilemma, and it's a juicy one, and I think you guys are not going to know. I'm interested what both of you have to say on this one.
Ooh.
I'm KB. I'm thinking you maybe have not run into this because your parents are very close, right? They're in Indianapolis, right?
Yes.
Mark, you have grandparents that are a couple hours away as we are dealing with grandparents being a couple hours away. So I think you guys will like this dad dilemma.
We watched
as well.
Lion King last night in the Bowen household.
Like the old school one? The one back in the
94,
90s?
baby.
Hell
Good
yeah.
for you.
That's the only way to
What
go.
an unbelievable flick. Just great.
You didn't stop it on the burning bush to see the secret word, did you? Remember that was a thing?
Well, and there were some moments where certainly Rosie was a little.
Was she sad?
She was a little uneasy.
Okay.
Yeah, to say the least.
I mean, there's some sad moments in
But man, Max Bowen and those animals.
Oh, he had to love it.
She was in heaven.
And then the thing is, it's just you don't need to redo it. It looks great. They've remastered it on DVD. And did you use a DVD or was it on the streaming service?
No, a little Disney.
Okay.
Disney Plus
Yeah,
action.
of course you have that. Why would you not have that? So, good stuff this morning.
That should
Reminder,
come with your parenting.
It really should.
Like, when they hand you the folder as you exit the hospital, they
See
should
you
literally
later.
have a Disney Plus login for you.
Yeah, they do. They give you a folder and they say, "Good luck. See you later.
Yeah.
Get out of here." We have 18 other people trying to have a baby. Get the hell
Here
out
you
of here.
go for, breastfeeding. If you did circumcision, here you go here. And,
Okay.
here you go. And by the way, here's your Disney Plus login.
Here, comes with ESPN as well, so you can get Mel Kiper's mock draft at the same time with that. So a lot of fun today. We got you to 10 o'clock. Coming up on the other side, which star wide receiver is available? Plus, what did Gus Bradley say about Tyquan Lewis? We mentioned him. We'll let you hear that as well. Your morning check down, it's coming up next. Appreciate you waking up with us. Wake up call 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Marion University Football, pursuing another NAIA championship this season. Don't miss the on-campus action at Ascension St. Vincent Field. Visit NUnites.com for tickets.
Always love our Wednesday convos with the great Lin Dunn. We'll put a bow tie on the Fever season coming up with her at 9 o'clock. Andy Sweeney, go ahead with a morning check down.
Yeah, it kind of feels like, is this going to be our last one with Lynne Dunn? You think we'll have her on next week or what?
Well, no. I think this is it.
You think this is it?
This is it.
This is kind
next season gets started.
Kind of it's a sad goodbye. I don't know if I like this or not.
We need quite the reading list.
We should have got her a book.
We should. Well, there's still time.
Should we Amazon her a book?
My daughter just brought home a Scholastic Book Fair pamphlet, so maybe I should start doing some perusing.
Do they still do the pamphlets?
They still do it.
Man, would you bring that in tomorrow?
They still do it.
I would love to see that. I haven't seen one of those in 25, 30 years.
Sure, on the front cover, a lot of Lin Dunn related books, right?
No, I don't know about that, Kev.
Let a R.L.
Maybe some
Stein.
leadership ones.
Let a R.L. Stein back in my day.
Oh, there are Goosebumps books in there.
I like that.
Danielle Steele for Lin Dunn.
That's exactly right. Let's start your morning check down. Let's start with the bad. The news made official yesterday. Defensive lineman Tyquan Lewis heads to the injured list. Now, you said there's a chance he comes back. I mean, it sounds like this is going to be quite a long injury, right? More than the 4 weeks.
I would assume.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, that's the assumption, and that just stinks. I mean, he had such an opportunity. Andy's a pretty good football player. Here's Gus Bradley. Almost called him Gus Lewis. I don't know who Gus Lewis is. Here's Gus Bradley on losing Lewis, and obviously how good of a football player he is.
First of all, as a man, I mean, great leader. I think I said 2 games ago against the Chicago game, you could feel it like there's a number of plays where he felt like he was a guy in particular that really emptied his tank. But he plays like that every game. I mean, he no matter where we put him, if it's inside, if it's outside, you know what you're going to get from him. And, he's going to give you a full day's work.
The Jags are winless. They do have the second best rushing attack in the league. Kind of a weird stat for an 0-4 football team. Their yards per carry numbers like well over 5. So are you back to kind of getting tested in that area? It's been obviously a really good stretch here over the last game plus, probably 2 games plus really in that department, but could be a little bit of a different animal coming up on Sunday. So obviously that news yesterday, extremely disappointing, especially for the individual and everything Lewis has gone through. And we'll await the word today. Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, first practice of the week for the Colts. Again, they are still an underdog. Week 5, it is Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta for a second straight week. All right, Major League Baseball from yesterday. I said it to you guys during the show. I'm so glad the Reds aren't in the playoffs. I don't want October. Imagine stressing at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday.
Right? You'd hate to do that.
Oh, that is so unneeded.
Right.
So unnecessary. And that's what you had. All these home teams losing. I mean, Joel A. Erickson had to be, Joel strikes me as a wonderful dad. No way he could give the proper attention to his 3 sons.
No, nor
watching
should
the
you.
Brewers look like that yesterday.
Sorry, kids. Entertain yourselves. Go watch The Lion King with the Bowens. We got things to do.
Come on over. We had some popcorn.
You notice besides Mets Brewers, I just love this in baseball, scoring immediately goes down. How many 1-0 games did the Royals and Orioles play this season? I would love to know.
Royals 1-0, Tigers 3-1, and the Padres. Michael King, 12 strikeouts in 7 innings for him. The only home team to win there in Game 1. Again, these are best-of-3 series. So Padres up 1-0, Mets, Royals, Tigers, they all win on the road. We'll run it back with all 4 Game 2s coming up today.
Quickly, a couple football items. We'll dive into this more as we go. Devontae Adams officially on the market. Not a surprise, a wide receiver there with the Raiders.
Give me one team, and you can't say the Jets.
Okay, sure. The one team that I have locked and loaded, the Washington Commanders. They have salary cap. They have a cheap quarterback who is on a rookie deal and who is also in Jaden Daniels.
Traded
very
to the
good.
other conference.
They need, I would say, a wide receiver. They traded Dotson before the season, or what was it? Right before the season, they did that, and they're in a division that they can win, but they might need a little bit of help to win, and the Eagles aren't going to do anything but fire their coach, and the Cowboys have already proven they're not going to add anyone. The Giants stink. So if I'm Washington, salary cap, young quarterback, for the next couple years, I could pay Devontae Adams $35 million and get away with it. You get him from when he's 31, 32 into his year 33. To me, Washington's the team. You got one,
Mark?
I mean,
damn Jets.
But I said you couldn't say the Jets.
That's the one that's going to happen, though.
Sorry, no. You can't say the Jets.
You can't say the
from
Jets.
From 10 to noon today, we're already going to get that.
Fine. Give me... Oh, boy.
You go the Bills. The Bills is the other
The Bills
sexy
is,
pick.
yeah,
I
the
had
Bills
two
are
AFC
one.
teams on my list.
It's
so
going to be in the AFC.
if Mark's
right?
going to go with the Bills there, I'll go with the team we just saw at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Pittsburgh Steelers? Okay.
Steelers would be interesting.
They would.
They don't have a legit number one.
Who were they after before the season? Remember, there was they're going to get him, and then they didn't get him. Wasn't there a wide receiver, the Steelers?
For the Steelers?
Remember we talked about this? And I'm blanking on who it was. You guys are looking at me silly.
Actually, I think you're right. Yeah, but I'm trying to think of who it was there. But obviously, you watch that wideout. I mean, George Pickens is a hell of a talent, but George Pickens being steady for 17 weeks,
no.
I think there are some questions there. So, yeah, we'll see. It doesn't sound like this is imminent by any means. I think both Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport made that clear yesterday. I mean, the Raiders are 2-2. It's not like they're 0-4. So that'll obviously be something to keep an eye on. Thursday night football for this week. It's a decent one. Falcons.
That's a big one.
Bucks?
Yeah, I mean
right?
that's a big one.
The Brandon Ayuk was who you were thinking of for the Steelers.
Oh, yeah, Brandon Ayuk. So
Nice.
the Steelers have already shown, hey, this could happen. I doubt Devontae Adams would give it okay to go play for the Patriots. They have a ton of room, but again, that's a pretty bad franchise. Last thing for me, Donovan McCulley transferring from Indiana was courted this offseason. It was an early, and we'll dive into this more, it was an early offseason win for Kirk Cinetti, for the leading receiver to come back at 600 and some odd yards last year. Did have a couple catches and a touchdown against Maryland, but it seems to be pretty obvious that Donovan McCulley is dreaming of some of the schools that wanted him maybe in the offseason, and Indiana's 5-0, and apparently he doesn't want to be a part of it. I'd love to know the story there between he and Cignetti.
Well, I mean, he doesn't want to be a part of it, and to be fair, he's not high on the depth chart. I mean, he's barely done anything this season.
Which is surprising.
Missed a game due to injury, but you watch their wideout core, and it's Caleb Surratt, it's Miles Price, it's Miles Cross, it's Omar Cooper, his high school teammate. I mean, they are deep at wideout. So I don't look at this. Yeah, my answer on February 2nd would have been different than it is now on October 2nd. And remember back in the spring, Kurt Cignetti was public of like, yeah, we need him to pick it up a little bit more. So I think this was always a bit of a relationship that, yeah, just didn't get started off on the right foot back in the spring. The other college note, again, Big Ten Media Days coming up here the next 2 days. Braden Smith, your preseason Big Ten Player of the Year. Again, the Big Ten does 1 million guys on their first team. Ace Baldwin, Umar Ballo, Indiana's lone rep. Brooks Barnheiser, shout out to the Lafayette area there. Dawson Garcia, Dylan Harper, Grant Osborne. That's the dude from Utah State.
Okay.
Who Purdue played in the second round.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's at Washington.
Oh, yeah. But he got a big
Sanford
NIL deal.
from Iowa, Oregon's Jackson Shellstead, and then Braden Smith and Bruce Thornton. So you just hear that list, and it's just kind of a...
Not a lot of NBA guys.
No.
I love you doing that. You're right.
Am I wrong?
You're right. No, you're not. You're not wrong.
I mean, certainly
You're
the
not
Rutgers
wrong.
dudes, but...
That's about it. Yeah, they're one and done. They could go anywhere. They could have obviously gone anywhere. All right, so there's your morning check down. Coming up on the other side, reminder, Stephen Holder going to join us at 8 o'clock to play or not play. Our thoughts on Anthony Richardson. We'll do it next. Appreciate you waking up with us. Wake up call 93.5 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I'd say the crispiest morning we have had in a while. Probably going to need an extra layer, at least for the morning here, as we appreciate you tuning in to the Wake Up Call here on this Wednesday morning, October 2nd. We can get more into this a little bit later, but boys, this is a pumpkin patch apple orchard pick up the leaves weekend. I'm just warning you all now.
I feel like I've done my share of pumpkin patches and apple orchards already. I feel like I'm at my limit already.
Guys, let's look at the college football slate for Saturday. Let's look at it next Saturday. Let's look at it the Saturday after that. Get it done now.
Yeah.
Get it done this Saturday.
In a couple weeks, we have like Tennessee, Alabama.
Get it
coming up on a Saturday.
I will stress it for the next 72 hours. Don't say I didn't warn you. Get it in right now. October 5th, cross it off the calendar. October 12th, October 19th, you want to be on the couch.
Get those pictures taken early in October. That's exactly what you got to do.
Get it out. All the leaves fell from the storms this past weekend. Get a head start on them.
God, I about killed myself the other day. It is funny, Mark. You're mentioning you're the one that's going to go to the most pumpkin patches.
Mm-hmm. I think I've already set a record.
Oh, have you? But I mean,
know.
already this year? I know last year you went to a bunch, so it sounded like you thought that last year you paid your price.
We've gone to Stuckey. We've gone to Tuttle's twice. County Line up in northwest Indiana. Beasley's Orchard. Yeah. I'm at like 4 or 5 already.
You know what you need to do?
He's on all the pamphlets. He's on multiple.
You know what you need? You need to come up with your pumpkin patch power rankings.
Maybe I should do that.
At some point, we can do that maybe
next week.
week.
I don't know if he wants to offend anybody. I mean, he's there in so many of them.
It's a great point, but, you know.
We went to Stuckey's last year. Great time.
Okay.
I think we'll be venturing to Tuttle's.
The train is running, from what I've been told, so I think we're going to have to head back out there.
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm asking Mark to do this because I need help in this manner. You know, last year, little Gas was, a month and a half, 2 months old, and he was in the NICU for 2.5 weeks. So, you bring him home, and it's almost October. The first thing you're going to do is not go to a pumpkin patch
Tuttle's
when it's
is
cold
close
out.
to you.
Okay.
I mean, Tuttle's is
I'm ready.
What, probably 15 minutes from you? Honestly.
Tuttle's gets it done.
Now, speaking
They're
of
all solid.
Tuttle's gets it done.
I'll do a power rankings. I'll help you out.
I'd appreciate that.
Is the train going to be running for Anthony Richardson today around 1:30, 2 o'clock when the Colts hit the practice field?
I'm going to guess, and I have absolutely no inside information, so if you do, go ahead and call me stupid. I'm going to say that he will be out there. He may do a little bit of light throwing, but as far as practice goes, I am going to just blindly guess that it's going to be Joseph Flacco today at practice. What do you think?
And that means what? Does that mean he's out? And I get back to the question I had for you to start off the show. Does Anthony Richardson need to practice all 3 days this week to play on Sunday? Because we have yet to see him encounter that type of week in the NFL. Quarterbacks, obviously, inevitably, hit different periods of their respective careers where they can't practice all 3 days. And the question becomes, is the limited amount of practice time enough? If you go back to last year, for example, Richardson suffers that concussion in week 2 in Houston. Didn't practice all that Baltimore week. Didn't play in the game. The following week, after they win in Baltimore, overtime, Matt Gay makes 1 million field goals. Boy, that seems like eons ago. The Rams week, he practiced then the full week and was good to go.
Right.
So we have no past precedent here. So, that's a question I think for Shane Steichen today is, how much practice time does Anthony Richardson need to play? You know what's funny about that? My answer would be if he misses today, I think he can. I think absolutely Thursday and Friday he can get ready to play on Sunday. I wish I knew what Steichen really thought in a lot of this, right? Like, does he think that's the case? Because he's not going to tell us. Does Anthony give you the best chance if you're not out there practicing, being so young in his career? The other side to all of it is, KB, that, they told us last year when he was injured, the mental reps mean so much. Do the mental reps mean a lot? Because if he were to miss practice, today and or tomorrow, and he's back on some way on Friday, that means, and still doesn't play on Sunday, that means the mental reps. I think for me... Well, it's an injury. You have to test him physically, right?
Well, I mean, you have to. No, you have to. I mean, he couldn't push off. That's why that RPO looked like a disaster.
I mean, this is
on
not
Sunday.
I don't know, a concussion obviously is severe, but you know what I'm getting at. Like, you have to see where he's at from a mobility and or throwing standpoint, I would think, with an abdominal, oblique, hip, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, let me ask you this. So, I don't know. I am struggling with this as it pertains to Anthony Richardson, and I need your help. So yesterday and, I would say Monday and Tuesday and after the injury on Sunday, I guess I felt like if he's not right in any way, you're not playing AR. In fact, KB, I kind of was going to take it a step further. We never totally got into it yesterday, but, I did mention, if this guy's not 100%, how the hell do you put him out there? That has been my thought Sunday, Monday, and most of Tuesday. And then I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's the hours of baseball that I was watching or what happened to my mind.
The weather started to change last night.
I think the weather started to change. I had a nice little cocktail last night, a little bourbon, so maybe that got the juices flowing. But I thought to myself, at some point, and I think this is what the frustration maybe with Colts fans, at some point, we got to quit talking about all the upside that AR has, and we got to stop. I'm not talking about it, but it has to stop being the lead. I'm not saying they're babying him, but there have been kid gloves at times with Anthony Richardson. And if he was really injured, concussion, the shoulder, I totally get it. But there is a part of me that comes in here this morning that is like, no one's 100% in the NFL. Josh Downs played the last couple weeks. He wasn't 100% in the NFL. And that if Anthony Richardson is going to be a quarterback in this league, that he's going to have to play with maybe some nagging, uncomfortable, I don't want to even say injuries, but I guess I'll say injuries. But then the flip side of that, and this is where I was most of the week, the flip side of that is this guy is so injury prone. If he's not 100%, he's 85, 90%, and you put him back out there, do they think, hey, there's a better chance now of him being injured? I'm interested on what you think, because I have come to the point with AR that I need to see him out there and playing football, no excuses, not talking about the wild plays, not talking about what he's done in practice or he's only played so many games in the NFL. He needs to be treated like every other player, and if other players can go out there and fight through something, I want to see Anthony Richardson on Sunday. That is how I feel today, and it's not how I felt on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, I certainly hear you out. I worry about further risk. We played this game to a degree with Josh Downs in weeks 1 and 2. You sat him in those weeks, and I think a big thought of it was it's September. You really want this dude healthy you want this dude as close to 100% for 80% of the season, 90% of the season as you can. Is there any thought of that with Richardson here this week? Okay, we could throw him out there, but there's risk of further injury and/or he just isn't his full self. Do we sit him for a week, get him up to 100%, and then you hopefully ride him for whatever, multiple months the rest of the year? That thought, and again, these are things I just don't know because I'm not smart medically at all. Frankly, not smart, but certainly not medically. So those are questions that I would have. I'd say one thing I was struck by, and thinking back to Richardson and the hit he took on Sunday, and then watching Sunday Night Football, for example, and this goes back to a Will Carroll question we had yesterday when the injury expert joined us at 9 o'clock. Are guys injury prone? You remember that hit Josh Allen took on Sunday Night Football?
Yes.
They do the trick play.
Yep.
All of a sudden, Allen is body fully exposed, and he gets smoked by a 6'4", 338-pound defensive tackle. Next Gen Stats did the little, how fast was this dude moving?
Oh, did they? I didn't see that. That's scary.
The 338-pounder was moving at 13 miles per hour.
Okay.
As he hit Allen. This was not, don't think this was, Cameron Hayward beating 2 blocks and hitting Joe Flacco in the pocket.
This is a full steam ahead.
And Josh Allen's helmet slams on the turf. I mean, worse than I thought Justin Fields happened on Sunday. And yet Allen just pops right back up.
And it feels like he gets hit once every week or at least once every 2 weeks, just like that.
Every week. And so now I sit here with Richardson. I'm like, damn, if that were him.
Who doesn't believe that players aren't injury prone? Don't the majority of people feel that way? Whether it's true or not? I mean, I sure do.
Yeah, I think so. But I think you have a section that are like, no, they can be fluky. It can be, random injuries occur. It's not always 100%, when you look at these hits injure these guys, et cetera, et cetera. So I just was struck by that play and thinking to myself, Josh Allen is the same exact height and weight as Richardson, and he's different.
Yeah.
With how many hits he takes versus Richardson's body. So I guess to summarize it all, I understand where you're coming from on that, and I want Richardson to get as many reps as possible. But at the same time, I easily could sit here on Monday and be like, why the hell did they put him out there?
Yeah.
He looked terrible. What were they thinking? And then he gets, hit on one play by Eric Armstead, and he's out for a month, and you're like, that was stupid. Because everybody was irate, understandably, about him running on the first play he went back out there. So now are you speaking out of both sides of your mouth here? Like, that's the difficulty that you run into.
If they play him on Sunday, the playbook can't be closed. If they play him on Sunday, it can't be the same playbook as Joe Flacco. Because if you're going to keep him in the pocket, you might as well play Flacco. The other thing, would you rather them have him out or start the game and try to play and then have to pull him in the middle of the game?
I don't like that.
That sounds weird.
See, then we start.
That seems like you better hold him out then. If you're not confident he can make it through the game, then don't
honestly,
play him.
I would agree.
I think you just need to make a decision on it after today's practice.
You think it needs to be today?
I think you need to make a decision on it. Either you commit to him or you don't. I remember a weird circumstance, this would have been several years ago, where they practiced Jacoby Brissett like all week long, and then they got to Friday and they're like, yeah, we're going to go with Brian Hoyer. And it's like, wait a minute.
Those options.
So all of a sudden, you gave all those reps to one, and they were playing the lowly Dolphins. And, like, it was one of those games where first 1 to 17 wins. So, like, it mattered who you threw out there. And Hoyer was horrific, and I think they lost the game. So, I think you just need to commit to one. The other option, obviously, or the other big storyline will be Jonathan Taylor this week. Last year, if you recall, there was a game where we saw the Trey Sermon, Tyler Goodson debate or split of reps. It was the Pittsburgh game last year, ironically. Zach Moss exited kind of early second quarter, so for the rest of the game, it was Sermon a little bit more than Goodson. So as we look ahead to what Sunday could be like if Jonathan Taylor can't go, I guess you'd lean more Sermon than Goodson, and Evan Hall is on your practice squad there.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe that's more for your fantasy team.
Well, do you pick up Trey Sermon in fantasy? Have you made those moves yet, guys? On a waiver wire Wednesday?
I have.
Yeah, I've got Jahmyr Gibbs on a bye week,
teams,
so.
But I think I've opted for other running backs. I picked up Justice Hill.
You picked up Justice Hill, so you hope he gets a screen pass and
runs
runs
for
for 45.
The ball a little bit?
He had like 5 or 6 catches the other night. Let me ask you this, too, with all the Anthony Richardson stuff. Are the injuries, and this is probably a bigger topic we can bring up. Obviously, Stephen Holder going to join us in 10 minutes. The injuries are abound for this team. Whether you look at Juju Brents, of course, the Jonathan Taylor stuff that we're talking about. Of course, all of the Anthony Richardson stuff that we're talking about. A depleted, and I use that word, and I mean it, a depleted defensive line. And they very well could win some games here. We have talked about that with Jacksonville, and Tennessee's not good, and then a home game against what has been just a crappy offense. There's no other way to analyze it with the Dolphins. The question that I have wondered, and it's a bigger question. We don't have many of the answers right now. We have to see how things play out as we go. How much are the injuries here going to affect our big picture analysis of this football team? Like right now, if they go on the road and they win this game, I'm going to look and say, Gus Bradley, you did a pretty good job given that you didn't have your starting corner. You might not, I don't know. We'll see where Kenny Moore is today as well. And then you don't have a depleted defensive line. On offense, Anthony Richardson in and out of the lineup, having issues, dealing with stuff, dealing with being a young player in the league. I just wonder how much the injuries, if they don't make the postseason, KB, we're going to want to blame, they lose this game on Sunday, we're going to want to blame Ballard and everybody else. At some point there has to be a look and say they are playing with guys at some positions who are very much the back end of a 53-man roster.
Yeah, I'm more of the everybody's dealing with injuries side of it. You're going to face backup quarterbacks, for the first 8 games of the season? For the first 7 games of the season? So, Malik Willis and, Justin Fields and who knows, Mason Rudolph, and you definitely won't see Tua. Yeah,
I might want to see Levis, by the way.
I can't really play the injury card.
So that's not going to do anything to you?
Too much.
Because that's the card they're going to play.
Yeah, but again,
at the end of the season.
What I said, Jacksonville missed 6 or 7 starters last week. I just think it's a little bit of everybody's dealing with it. Maybe some teams slightly more. Mark brought up I mean, look at San Francisco. Look at the Rams early in the season. I think there's some of that. I just know on paper, the next 3 games, these teams are 2-10, the 3 teams you play, and the 2 wins they have are against each other. Miami's lone win is Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Tennessee's lone win is Miami.
Is Miami.
I mean, it's such a golden opportunity for you here.
Miserable right now.
And as
They're
I
so miserable.
said to start off really Monday's show after we got through the win, this is the most critical stretch of the season. If you break down the season into quarters, there's no bigger quarter than at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, home to Miami, and at Houston. You've won 4 of your last 14 divisional games. 4 of your last 14 AFC South games.
Yeah, that's not good enough.
That's awful. You want to win this division?
No.
You've got to start to win these games. I don't care if they're home or away. And if you want to get a little deeper into the weeds of it, Houston's 2-0 in the division. You're 0-1. If you beat Houston at the end of this quarter, obviously it's a great win. That would mean that tiebreaker goes to the divisional record. So all of these games just take on a bigger magnitude. I said at the start of the year, for you to make the playoffs, one of the 2 streaks has to end. What are the 2 streaks?
Jacksonville.
You haven't won in week 1.
Right.
That streak is still ongoing.
Still going.
And now this is the second streak. This is the other one. You can't have both of these continue. And this is the one dating back to 2014, not winning in Jacksonville.
By the way, Houston has a tough game. They have Buffalo this week. Buffalo's favored in Houston. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that is
Coming
a good
off that
game.
shellacking the Buffalo got the other night.
I think that makes sense.
Aaron says, Kevin was reading my mind. Are you an apple orchard or a pumpkin patch guy? I would say I'm a pumpkin patch guy more so than an apple orchard.
I feel like they kind of mix the two at this point.
Well,
right?
I think basically they're the same
I mean,
thing, aren't
if I'm
they?
going to pick one, yeah.
You go with the pumpkin patch?
Certainly. But again, this is a orchard, patch, get the leaves up weekend. We have one ranked game this weekend. Next weekend,
who is it?
We have
Who's the one ranked game?
Red River Shootout next weekend.
Okay.
Ohio State, Oregon next weekend.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Penn State at USC. Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin next weekend. And then the weekend after that, you got Bama, Tennessee, Georgia, Texas.
I can't wait
If you're
for
on
that.
the patch or you're on the orchard,
No, I got to go this weekend.
October 12th, October
You're spot
19th,
on.
that's on you.
I got to go this weekend. I did.
The lone matchup is Missouri, Texas A&M.
Missouri, Texas A&M. I'm sorry, that's not sexy.
I mean, college game days at Cal.
They're at Cal. I saw that. Yeah. You know what? I didn't know it until I saw a video of Aaron Rodgers on Twitter on with McAfee, and they were talking about Cal getting college game day. I had no idea the game day was at Cal until
Nothing
I saw
says
that video this
juicy
morning.
college game day conference matchup like Miami at Cal. That's the ACC nowadays.
I might take Cal plus the money. I might after last week. Miami was fortunate to win.
Orchard it up,
fortunate.
patch it up, get the leaves up this Saturday.
Get a hard cider in you.
all
I love
the
a
above.
hard cider. I need a leaf blower too. I may need some help on that. I got to buy one. Last year I raked a bunch of leaves.
Oh, no.
And I just,
No,
my
no,
back,
no.
I'm too
No,
old.
no,
I'm
no.
40. I can't
Little
do any of that
gases grow,
stuff.
and you're going to be picking them up for a long time. You can't be doing that.
Can't be doing that. All right, good stuff there. The injury-prone discussion. Does he practice today, Anthony Richardson? Those questions and more. Stephen Holder, ESPN. He joins us next.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Man, it is amazing how bad Trevor Lawrence has been here dating back to last season. Again, they haven't won a Trevor Lawrence start, Jacksonville, since November 26th of last season. He currently has the highest off-target rate in the NFL. To put it into perspective, that is like immensely worse than Zach Wilson and Bryce Young when they were benched in their respective seasons here as of late. Boy, there are some huge questions in Jacksonville related to Doug Peterson, the play calling of Press Taylor, everything right now as they are the final winless team here in the NFL. Talk more about that matchup coming up here on Sunday. From ESPN, Stephen Holder joins us. Stephen, let's start with the Colts quarterback. What do you think Anthony Richardson needs to show this week to play on Sunday?
I think that he can just kind of move with comfort and not be encumbered, I guess. This really, from everything I've been told, and I've talked to people close to Anthony, this is to a degree, it's a pain tolerance situation, okay? A deep bruise, but the pain can limit your mobility, right? So that's the question. Does the pain, or how great is the pain? And then depending on that answer, how much does it limit his mobility? On Monday morning, he was feeling much better. So that was the last update I got. And he was feeling much better than just even the previous evening. So I think, just based on what we know and the nature of the injury, he's got a good chance to play. And I can't say whether he practices today, but I do feel optimistic that he will play, and unless there are already setbacks or anything like that.
Stephen Holder, ESPN.com, with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Stephen, I want to go back, if you don't mind. Good stuff there on, the look forward. Let's go back. What do you think happened on the sideline? He did not go into the blue tent. It sure looked like he wanted to come back in the game. He did come back in the game. Then he left the game. Then he was back in the huddle. Then it was Joe Flacco. The communication there, what do you think happened on Sunday against Pittsburgh?
Well, initially, from all indications, and just frankly, just looking at it with our own eyes, it looks like he took the hit. He came out and told them he was fine. And I think to a large degree that was true. I mean, he didn't have a structural problem, but he took a really hard shot. And I think when you look back at it in retrospect, you can't be surprised that he got hurt. I mean, if you look at that hit. Now, Anthony knew that the context here was that he's been hurt a lot, and people would say things. So that's why you heard him after the game saying things like, yeah, I know people will say I'm injury prone and all of that, trying to acknowledge the elephant in the room. But my position is, like, if you watch the hit, it's like, yeah, that should have hurt. I mean, it's a pretty big hit to an open area. It's not a padded area, right in the hip there. So anyhow, I presume he came out, he told him, hey, I'm fine, because they did not really take or undertake any real examination of him from what it looked like to me. I mean, I was watching him the whole time on the sideline, and even with binoculars, just trying to make sure everything was fine. I didn't pick up on anything. So he tries to go back out there, and then his body told him, no, you're not ready. So I think it's exactly what we think happened. And when he tried to go back out there when he did go back out there, I guess, on that read option play, he just really couldn't get a lot of, push and strength off of that leg with the right side, which makes sense. So he went down, and that's all she wrote. Now, when he came back out, from all indications, he did want to go back in the game. He said that. But I think the conversation between him and Shane Steichen, I'm talking about after coming back from the locker room early second quarter, Anthony and Shane had a conversation. And at that point, I think Shane's position was like, hey, if you're not 100%, let's just go with Joe. And Anthony didn't love it, but agreed it was probably best. So I don't think it was a disagreement as much as just like Anthony conceding the point, like, okay, fine, you're probably right.
Stephen, last one on the Richardson front from me, and again, Stephen Holder with us, ESPN.com. How much practice does he need this week? We haven't seen him yet play a game without practicing
Right.
all 3 days in a week. Do you think that matters to the Colts?
Probably a little bit more than it would for a veteran quarterback, yeah. He doesn't have that long history of reps where you have the trust. But I do think the most important thing is that he's in the meetings and that he understands what he's looking at, can do the film study, and all of that obviously is taking place. So I think that's the most important thing. He does need to practice some, I think. I don't think he's at a level yet where you have that high level of trust you might have in a veteran quarterback. All right, if this was Joe Flacco in his prime and he was hurt and he could make it to Sunday, but maybe couldn't practice, but he has 6 or 7 or 8 years of experience, you probably don't bat an eye, assuming he's okay, physically, right? Anthony is in a little different place. So I think it's a little bit different decision, if he doesn't practice like at all. I don't know what they would do. And that would be fascinating to see, because you do have Joe Flacco. I think if you had a lesser backup, you might feel more pressure. When you have Joe Flacco, you can make maybe a more deliberate decision, and I think it would be fascinating to see how that goes. The only downside to that is we'd be dealing with some uncertainty, us on the outside, going into the game, and that would, be annoying. But other than that, I guess they would take their time with it and play it out.
Stephen Holder with us here on the Wake Up Call on this Wednesday. Stephen, Jonathan Taylor, let's switch to him. That ankle injury, we've seen that the last couple of years with JT. Optimistic, not optimistic about Sunday for Jonathan Taylor?
I don't know just yet. Jonathan, I talked to him for quite a while after the game. He insists that he's okay. I've heard that before from players, and then they were not okay. So I don't know that necessarily answers the question. I think it should be of some concern that it's the same ankle on which he's had past issues. So that's maybe something that gives me a little trepidation. I don't think it's a serious injury, but that doesn't mean he plays on Sunday, right? So that's the question for me. How bad is this thing, and how much does it affect him in the immediate term? In the long term, I don't think it's an issue. It's more about this week. So today might tell us something. I don't know that he practices today, but I think today and tomorrow might give us some more indication at least.
Again, Stephen Holder with us here. Colts Jags coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock. Jacksonville, a slight favorite in this one. Were you surprised at all, Stephen, that they cut Spencer Schrader off the practice squad yesterday? They added a running back for what it's worth. I don't know if that's a Taylor situation or not, but were you surprised that they did cut, I guess, kicker insurance, if you will?
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say shocked, but definitely took notice of it. It's bold.
And you got 16 spots on the practice squad for those that haven't kept up to date with what the practice squad's like.
Right, which I think is an important point, because if anything, it's almost a message to Matt Gay, like, hey, do your thing. You're good. And maybe I'm overthinking it. I probably am, okay? But if you're Matt Gay, you have to have taken notice of it. Maybe it's just as simple as his health issues are behind him, which begs all other kinds of questions, right? Like, why is he still missing? I don't know exactly why they did it. I think we have to ask Shane Steichen today, and we'll probably not get a straight answer, but that's okay. That's what Shane does. I'm not mad. Shane is Shane, but I think it's a question worth asking, and I think at minimum, it says that Matt Gay is healthy. And so if he's healthy, then his misses are due to something else.
Yeah, I honestly went there. I thought to myself, boy, have they gotten to the point where they think it's, that mental for Matt Gay that they think cutting Spencer Schrader might help him out?
What I
know that's I don't know, maybe it's a little weird of me to go there, but 16 spots in the practice squad, that's a ton. I mean, to me, there are a lot of teams that have an extra kicker on their practice squad. I don't really think you're taking up room by having an unnecessary position on there. So that actually was a thought that I pondered today. And if you listen to Matt Gay earlier in the week, and credit to him for being as open and honest as I thought he was, he would say to you right now, it is not health-related at all. It's more of I've got this big old right-to-left draw, and I've got to figure out where to start it.
Yeah, I mean, the 16-man practice squad is such a critical point here because they could put me on the practice squad, and it would not matter. That would be stupid. I would cash the checks, granted, but it would be stupid. But they could do that, and they have so many spots now that it's almost like they can give them away like nothing, So it is notable. It is absolutely notable, and they have kept him on there because, frankly, it made sense to keep him on. I'm talking about Schrader. It made sense to keep him on the practice squad because Matt Gay's recent injury history has been concerning. Now, he might be healthy now, and that's great. I hope he is. But the point is he had injuries dating back to last year. He's had multiple injuries since the start of the offseason this year. So given that recent history, a re-injury is certainly something that you could conceive. And yet you give away the one kicker, or excuse me, you cut the one kicker on the practice squad, even with that backdrop. So I don't think you're crazy, Kevin, to go there, and we can't know for sure, but it's a very reasonable thing to speculate about.
Stephen Holder with us, ESPN, ESPN.com. He joins us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Last one for me, Tyquan Lewis goes 4 weeks to the IR. Not good there, obviously. This defensive line is just so beat up, Stephen. So the health of this defensive line, are you surprised maybe how well at times they played on Sunday? And then Lewis, do you think he is done for the season, or you think he can come back here in a few weeks?
So second question first. I do not believe that Tyquan is done for the season. They expect that he will return. Timeline TBD. So don't know that yet. And by the way, I talked to Tyquan in the locker room after the game on Sunday, and I didn't necessarily, pry and try to figure out what was wrong with him, mainly because he was sitting there and he was in his chair at his locker, and he was just sitting there like, I can't move. He was just spent, and the guy's beat up. I mean, he came into the week beat up, came into the game on Sunday beat up, and then he gets hurt even beyond that. So, I mean, he was going through it, man. And it really was like one of those moments where you're reminded, like, this is a hard game, man. I know the money's great, but, like, this is a hard game, Like, and Tyquan's a tough guy, and he's just sitting there. He's like, man, I gave it all I could. That's all he could say. And I really respected it, And anyway, to the previous question, they are, I think they have transcended the injuries so far, to their credit. That's getting harder. There's no doubt about it. That's getting harder. Thank God they drafted Laiatu Latu, okay, because he has been a factor, and he really, he chased Justin Fields all over the place on Sunday, often to no avail, because Justin Fields is very is an escape artist, right? That's what he does. But they made it hard on him, which is all you can do. And so thank God they drafted him, and he's playing well, and they're getting good contributions there. But they're having to mix and match now. You heard defensive coordinator Gus Bradley on Tuesday talking to us in the media, saying that they're going to have to get creative perhaps in where they play different guys. And he says everything is on the table now. So that's where they're at. And they're already playing guys like Isaiah Land, and they're having to kind of reach deeper into the bag here, and it's going to get harder. And when you have to do that, at some point, the performance is going to suffer. And this, hopefully this isn't the week, but that's going to happen here.
I mentioned this earlier about Lewis, Stephen. What an incredible effort by him to get off the field when he suffered the injury. I don't know if fans realize that injury occurred on the chaotic fumbled snap by the Steelers. They didn't take a timeout after that play. Had Lewis needed medical attention on the field, the Colts have to take a timeout there. And obviously that allows Pittsburgh to catch their breath and regroup for second in a million. Lewis, and I think consciously, I'd have to ask him this, consciously, he kind of like rolls off the field to where now the Colts can throw a sub in there and they don't have to take a timeout. It is amazing. You watch plays like that, and it's just a further example of what these guys go through throughout a season.
I'll just say real quickly, I think it reinforces – we say, we've talked a lot about Chris Ballard's like roster decisions, and he does have like his favorites, those guys that like are close to his heart. Right. He loves Tyquan Lewis.
Traded up for him. One of the few guys he's traded up for.
Right, exactly. Like if it came to Tyquan Lewis and one of Chris Ballard's kids, I think it's a close call. Okay, like he loves this guy, but I get it. You know, you get it when you see stuff like that. The guy has played through just a series of injuries in his career and has always shown up when he's on the field. So I love the guy too. I can't complain about that.
First practice for the Colts here in a little bit. Steven, thank you as always, sir.
All right, you got it.
Steven Holder right there, Payless Liquors hotline. Advantage for the Colts this week if they play the Flacco versus Richardson game? I mean, Jacksonville's got to prepare for both.
They're so different. They couldn't be more opposite of players.
A winless football team that has to prepare for multiple QBs.
It's not good.
That seems like an advantage.
If I'm Shane Steichen, you said something, and I was thinking of whispering this, but we kind of moved on. You said, I think you need to make the decision on AR today. I think that's fine
well,
internally.
Not public.
Yeah, no, but I think internally, right. if that's the conversation. Then it's an easy one. Then he's healthy, he's good to go, he's pushing off, he's throwing, he's Anthony Richardson. You put him on the practice field, you get ready for Sunday. And if he's not, if you say, boy, this guy's far away, we're not going to be able to practice him. He's going to be, compromised even in a couple days. And you're going to Joe Flacco. Yeah, then you absolutely keep something quiet. Can I react to one thing that he said there? It's not even something that you guys had the mini conversation there about maybe Spencer Schrader was cut because of two reasons. Number one, Matt Gay now, you feel like he is fully healthy. They feel like he is fully healthy. Number two would be, is there a mental aspect to it that it helps the mentals, as Marshawn Lynch once infamously said, it helps the mentals of a player and definitely a kicker by not having someone looking over his back. And I don't understand the contract with Matt Gay, and I don't understand why you give the lead. I don't think we're to the point to where Matt Gay would be out of here, but I don't understand why you would pay a lot for a kicker to put yourself in a position to where the kicker gets to be treated differently than many other positions on the field. I don't get it. I'll never understand it. Matt Gay is a top 5 kicker, and he's not Harrison Butker. He's not Young Ho Koo. He's not Justin Tucker. He's not. He's not any of those guys. And all those guys.
Young Wei. I always thought it was Young Ho with his spelling, but I think it's Young
Is
Wei.
it Young Wei Koo?
That Young Ho kicking for the Falcons. Big kick for him, right?
Goodness.
Last week.
He had a 50-some yarder.
The game winner.
I don't understand.
That Young Ho can kick.
Yes, he can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. What do we?
Well,
what do we do? Why does Matt Gay have mind control here? If he misses a kick on Sunday, there should be a conversation on him not being the kicker, but he's always going to be the kicker, and you get rid of Spencer Schrader, who you can always go pick up Spencer Schrader. I'm not thinking that, the Cowboys are going to go grab him. Of course, they have a great kicker, but you find a kicker, you find a kicker, you find all these other people can find young kickers and not have to pay them a bunch of money. I don't know. I mean, like right now, the Houston kicker, Fairbairn, he's a 14th in the NFL in paying this season. He's 14th. He's not 4th. He's 14th.
I guess the moral of it is don't pay kickers that much money.
Agreed.
That's probably where you start. And the other side of it, and I guess this sounds like I'm carrying the Colts water. I'm trying not to, but like kicker is different in that, let's say, for example, Zaire Franklin is struggling mightily. You just bench Franklin and play Jalen Carlies, and Franklin sits on your roster,
right? And
then Carlies gets the playing time. You can't really bench a kicker. Like, no team carries 2 kickers. So if you're going to say, Matt Gay, you're done, you're cutting him, and that's going to cost you like $6 or $7 million. Whereas, again, if Zaire Franklin is not performing to his money, yes, it's costing you, I guess, but, like, you're not cutting him and eating that dead cap hit. You're just benching him. Like, they benched Darius Leonard last year. Now, eventually they did cut him, but it wasn't, I think, at the same level from a kicker standpoint it is an either-or with kicker. Other positions, you've got other guys on the roster. Kicker, it's just either. Having said all that, I would have kept Schrader on the practice squad.
Let me ask you
I
this.
think 60. They got four corners on the practice squad right
listen,
now.
I agree. I think it's a question today for Shane Steichen. Are we going to get to the point, and it didn't happen, but it could have happened on Sunday, to where you're going to have to be burned by Matt Gay to have a real conversation?
Well, and I guess the other question is it going to take a short miss?
Like a 35-yarder.
That's
like an extra
point. I think that's where we're at. 54 yards, yes, you would want him to miss it, or to make that, considering how much money you're paying him. But, also the hit rate on those are 70%, whereas the hit rate on a 38-yard field, because that's when you said enough to Vinatieri. Now, it took a while, but that's when it got to that level there. And I guess, to be fair, we have yet to see Spencer Schrader kick a field goal in the NFL. So, I mean, it's like
just an extra point.
All it was extra points in week 1. Lin Dunn, the great Lin Dunn, going to join us coming up at 9 o'clock. At some point here in the 8 o'clock hour, is one Pacer already out of the rotation?
Ooh.
Probably very early to go there just yet, but the whole have you earned a spot? I do think that's an interesting debate to have here in regards to the Pacers. Certainly health will ultimately, I think, lead to various guys playing minutes this season, but one thing to note from their opening of training camp yesterday. Before all that, let's go ahead and check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Marion University Football, pursuing another NAIA championship this season. Don't miss the on-campus action at Ascension St. Vincent Field. Visit NUnites.com for tickets.
All right, as always on the Morning Checkdown, let's start with the Colts. Tyquan Lewis, injured reserve, has that elbow injury. Not good. Not a season ender, but going to be out here at least 4 weeks, several weeks for the Colts. Gus Bradley's defensive coordinator met with the media yesterday. Here's what he had to say about Lewis.
He's a playmaker for us. So, that one's going to be hard on us, but, we'll have other guys that will step up. But he's been tremendous for that group, and he'll still be around and in that room helping those guys. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, if you look at it last week, Latu's snaps rose significantly without Kwity Paye. So again, Kwity Paye, Kenny Moore, those are a couple other injuries to watch. We haven't talked about them this week. They did not play against Pittsburgh, not on injured reserve, so obviously they expect their return at some point here soon, but those will be some things to watch here heading into week 5.
But by the way, Gus Bradley nearly misspoke about as bad as I did there. If you listen to that clip again at the very beginning
that went
of
right
that
over
clip.
my head.
Yeah, well, I heard it last night, and then I heard Kurt Darling play it this morning on the Morning Checkdown. I go, we got to play that.
He's a playmaker for us. So, that one's going to be hard on us.
Jeez. Are you already going there?
Well, it's 8:25.
A little chilly start here to this Wednesday morning. Add a layer or two. All right, MLB from yesterday. These are game 1s of a 3-game series, so it's now or never for these teams. Road teams won each of the first 3. That would be Tigers over Astros, Royals over Orioles, Mets over Joel Erickson's Brewers. And the nightcap, it was an unbelievable effort out of Michael King, striking out 12 in 7 innings. Padres over the Brewers there 4-0. So game 2s for all of these teams today, and it could be it. Again, these best-of-3 series, they go quick in the wild card round. So same schedule here on game 2. We'll start with the AL, and then we'll get to the NL later in the day.
Who has the best chance to bounce back? Is it the Astros? Everyone seems to think it's Houston.
I don't want to see Joel Erickson sad, so I'll go with
You don't
Brewers.
want to see Joel Erickson sad?
No.
Yikes. You might see him sad. The Mets are hot, man.
Did they play his Roll of the Barrels song yesterday at all? I don't know.
Mark, you might have jinxed him yesterday.
How did I jinx him? I was being a good person. I was
Now,
helping him
as I
along.
said to Joel yesterday, I'm glad the Reds aren't in it. No one should have that type of stress in their body at 3:38 on a Tuesday afternoon.
No,
you're worried about if you're going to get out of a 4th-inning jam at 3:30 in the afternoon?
I mean, just think like
I got enough to deal with.
Just think like 8 years ago, whatever it was, that's when Doc Holliday, that's when Roy Halladay no-hit him. Remember that?
No,
I mean,
trust me.
you went
I
through.
remember where I was at Matt Starcevich's apartment on the east side of Bloomington.
Do you guys like that, like, you're having playoff baseball at like 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you do, though?
Yeah, do you do it somewhere at saying, why don't you do, like, you have 2 games at once, but, like, maybe stagger them by 15 minutes? Granted, that's not ideal if you want to watch both, but
I thought
wouldn't you rather have that
staggered
than
yesterday.
have a playoff game on a Tuesday when people are working and at school? You can't even watch the game?
Yeah, but we're available. We can watch the games.
We are, yes, but we are in the very
but
small
I mean,
minority.
Staggered today is 2:32, 4:38, and then you get 2 at night, 7:38 and 8:38. I mean, it's a decent job.
There is something romantic, when it's college basketball, if it's, the 2 games on Monday night, even though that's not in the middle of the day baseball during the postseason, when we've had Olympic stuff that's right. Remember the Team USA was playing basketball, men's and women's side at 2:30,
Cole
3 o'clock.
Hawker's race was right during that time. I get that we're in a different audience, but I'm fine with one of the 3 games ending at whatever.
Yeah, well, a couple
5 p.m.
times a year to be able to have some sports in the middle of the day. I'm good on that. Last thing for me, Donovan McCulley transferring from Indiana, just 2 catches, 21 yards, did have a touchdown against Maryland, has been dealing with injuries, also has been dealing with being, 7th on the depth chart. So McCulley, who had a chance to transfer, had some pretty big schools. I think he had local schools. Didn't he have Kentucky and Louisville, I know down the road, we're both kind of interested in him.
A&M. I thought there were even some bigger schools.
Well, they pay everybody. A&M just pays everybody.
But again, IU went out in the portal and reloaded big time at receiver. Omar Cooper, the fellow Ellen product, also there. Shout out to Braden Smith, Big Ten preseason player of the year, the Westfield product there. He was one of 2, I think, unanimous selections on that Big Ten first team there. So you'll get media days coming up. And we're probably a month away from some of those exhibitions. Less than a month away from some of those scrimmages that teams do. So it is about to ramp up. Umar Ballo, IU's lone rep on the first team.
Yeah, the super secret scrimmages that everyone knows exactly what happened in.
Well, now they're public. Now it's like, hey, we're raising money, and now we're doing them. And now I think they're starting to stream them and everything, which I love.
That's a good idea. So a thought on the Big Ten Plus. I have a dad dilemma. We still have Billy Joel and Sting tickets to give away. Busy rest of the show. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Wake Up Call right here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, you know what that means. We're giving away a pair of tickets to Billy Joel and Sting every single day this week. 317-239-1070. Fast fingers. Mark Dykton will take you right now for a pair of tickets. That concert coming up February at Lucas Oil Stadium. We still got a couple giveaways. A little Butler football homecoming coming up. Their head coach going to join us here, 4-0 on the year. Mike Yurimovich going to join us coming up here to close out the show today. Putting up a ton of points, Butler. So we'll give those away to close things out. Pacers' first training camp practice yesterday, Andy. Of course, we had Rick Carlisle on. Second unit. Hopefully we'll have Tony East join us tomorrow. The bench group with Benedict Mathurin back was T.J. McConnell, Ben Mathurin, Jarris Walker, Obi Toppin, Isaiah Jackson. You surprised at all? No Ben Shepherd?
Yeah, is there something wrong with Ben Shepherd? That was the first thing I thought of. Is there
Tyrese
something
Halliburton
wrong?
spoke glowingly of him and his continued improvement there. So I don't think he's dealing with some sort of injury or anything along that.
Well,
end.
everybody has been talking about how much they like Ben Shepherd, how much better he was than maybe people thought. He ended up starting. I know it was by default. I know there were injuries and everything else, but he ended up starting the game there against Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. Do you have a theory on this? I mean, listen, when Mathurin is back, and I know not all these guys are always playing the same positions on the floor and everything, but with Mathurin back, and if everyone's going to cry about, hey, we want to see more of Jarris Walker, I mean,
that's it right there. Should Jarris Walker be given a chance over Ben Shepherd? If you want to boil it down to one debate, that's a debate because Mathurin is. He had one of the best rookie seasons the Pacers ever had. Mathurin has proven himself on the NBA level to a degree. Jarris Walker has yet to. So that's the question. And again, Rick Carlisle said to us a few weeks ago, we look at Jarris a little bit more as a 3. If you listen to Rick yesterday talk, he said, hey, we got to maybe at times play a little bigger. He's spoken very highly of the potential there with Walker, but you got to see it on the defensive end. So I guess what it is they're betting – right now, and again, all this will play out. Injuries are inevitable. But right now, they're betting on the potential of Walker over the whatever Shepherd has already shown.
Well, here's the thing. You mentioned, has he earned? I would ask you, how much does that matter? Because Ben Shepherd has absolutely earned the right to have more minutes and to be more in the rotation in the eyes of the coaches than Jarris Walker. That is not close. Ben Shepherd came in and he immediately fit exactly what Rick Carlisle was trying to do. And, he was available when other guys were injured. So he has earned the right. But the flip side, I forget who wrote about this. It might have been, Dustin DePierac. I'm not exactly sure in the Star. The flip side of it would be, are you a better team in the long run if Jarris Walker is in there? More size, you would hope. At some point in his career, a better defender, you would hope as well. A much better rebounder. Jarris has said he's a better rebounder and all of that. So that would be the question. Sometimes guys get on the floor over other guys, and it has nothing to do with earning. It has to do with, true potential, I guess. We see a little bit of that with Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco. Flacco's a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson, but the upside, if you get AR rolling, the upside is there, whereas, you're not going to be able to march to the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. So that's what I find interesting. It will work itself out.
It's a great problem to have. It's a great problem.
They can go 11, 12 deep. We know the Pacers are going to be the deepest, if not one of the deepest teams in the NBA, but it is interesting to watch. Ben Shepherd was a revelation for this team, and he was there when some other guys were not there last season.
Again, Pacers' first preseason game coming up on Tuesday. Just to clarify, because I know we talked about it after Carlisle yesterday, he had mentioned to us Tyrese Halliburton, since being traded here, has put on 15 to 17 pounds of muscle, not just one off season since he's been traded here. And it sounds like Miles Turner has put on some muscle here, up to 260. We'll see how that will impact Miles.
Me too.
From a rebounding standpoint. and a rim protection standpoint here as he enters a contract year. And as Miles joked at Media Day, it's a contract year? That sounds like every year.
He did
with
say
me
that.
and the Pacers.
We should have played that. He's like, with all the hey, we're going to trade Miles Turner and everything else. He goes, I feel like every single year has been a contract for me in Indianapolis.
Laughed out loud when he said
that.
that.
I did. I was like, well, you're about right.
Literally every year is either is he going to get traded or is he going to get re-signed? That's what it seems to be. Every single time.
You know who should talk about Miles Turner more? JMV. I did see 2 nights ago JMV was battling some jackass on Twitter about rebounding. I go, God bless you, JMV. You got more stamina than I have, and you're older than me. Must be all that weight you lost.
He enjoys those.
Dude, JMV
those
looks
Twitter beats.
JMV looks great. By
he
the way,
does. Saw him
He's
in the
very
press box
svelte.
on Sunday. Yes.
Dude looks fantastic.
It's outstanding. Don't know if that's going to mean he's going to play any defense in the pickup games, but
well, he shouldn't. It's a pickup
certainly
game.
Looks great.
Mark, play the open. I have a dilemma. I have a dad dilemma for you guys. I need the help of 2 veteran fathers. Go ahead.
Hi, Daddy.
Oh, the guys have another dad dilemma on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, so we do this every so often. I'm a new father. I have nearly a 13-month-old. The guys across from me, Mark Dykton and Kevin Bone, are grizzled veterans in the father game. And so you guys can help me as well. Reach out to me on Twitter at @TheOnlySweeney. We get a text line in here. That'll make it much easier. So Nikki's parents live in southern Indiana. They live down by Louisville, where they live, where I am downtown in Irvington. It's about an hour and 20, hour and a half away, okay? So they, I should say, let me go back. My wife, is traveling just a little bit from work. She'll be gone like a night or, kind of a night, maybe 2, a night and a long day, back the next day late at night, okay? So, I can handle Little Gas. I can handle Mason, not a problem. But, sometimes just to help out, plus they get fettered play, if you will. The grandparents will come up from southern Indiana and will come and hang out with us. And, which is all great, and they're very, very helpful and everything else. So we have in Little Gas's room, we have one of those, it's called Eufy, but it's like just one of those cameras where, it goes to your app so you can, see the baby while he is sleeping and
Baby's
everything
moving
like that.
or getting restless or
yeah,
something.
You can put a little sock on him. It shows the heartbeat and the oxygen, and it's a great thing to have. It's technology. People didn't have this years ago. And we have one of those. So, Nikki's mom was helping me for a couple nights. She's very good in getting Mason to bed, especially we have to wake up early. She can help in that case. And so I put the app on her phone. So, during the night, if she wanted to wake up, she could check in, much like I check in on Mason. The question is that I have for you guys, was that a good idea? Because, they went home. They're up for a day or two. She still has the app on her phone. So she can basically check in, if you will. And so she can spy in like Big Brother on our parenting, on putting him to sleep and everything else.
No, I think it's fine.
She has moved the camera at times. We think she may have accidentally reset the password at times. And so now I don't know. Like, what do I do here? Was it a bad idea for me to do that?
No, I think it's grandma of the year. No, it's great stuff that she cares. She's passionate. You'd rather have that than having to drag her along and beg and be on your knees for that. So I get where you are. I mean, at times you probably feel like it's a hair too much, but it's better than the alternative.
I would make sure you're wearing pants also if you have a camera going on and she's moving the camera.
I side with your mother-in-law.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I didn't know if I was making a mistake or not, because Nikki's not, she doesn't like this. She doesn't like that she can just parachute in and get on the camera and move the camera around and
she
do
texted
that
you the
sort
other
of
day,
thing.
hey, the oxygen levels are not proper. Will you do something about it? I mean, maybe that's a little too much, but again, cheap help and free help and loving help.
Very cheap help.
That's difficult. Remember we had Caitlin Clark on. We asked her about her babysitting prowess that she so eloquently described. She mentioned, I'm not doing that for free necessarily. So, yes.
I would say if it becomes an issue, then Nikki can take that bullet.
That's what I said.
Back.
I go, honey, this is up to you.
That's your mom.
Yeah.
I go, this is up to you.
I think you're fine.
All right, well, there we go. I was worried about it because as soon as I put that password in the app, I go, she's going to have access to this, and And Nikki said, "Why is our camera moving?" She said one night. And I go, "Well, that has to be your mom, because it ain't me. Because I'm watching Sunday Night Football, baby. That's what I'm doing."
I don't love the angle right now on Mason. I need to move this camera.
Can she radio in? Does she have like a microphone out where she'd be like, Andy?
You can.
Oh man.
Yeah, you can do that. If you want to talk back, you can absolutely do
story, and I don't. Maybe Maddie's driving the kids to school, so maybe she can text me about it. But I think it was one of her friends. Somehow, the child, and this was obviously a child age, 2, 3, got to the point where they could, with whatever app situation they had, camera situation, they could call grandma. And at one point, they called grandma. Somehow it called grandma. And what does grandma do? She answers, of course.
Sure. Why would you
She
not?
has a full-fledged convo with the young daughter, or the young granddaughter, I should say. And again, I mean, at that point, how beautiful is that?
I love Greg says on Twitter, "I'm glad she cares, but your wife needs to delete the app from her phone."
No. Because then as soon as she does that, all of a sudden grandma says, "You know what? I don't know if I'm free that weekend to help you out." Irvington Halloween Festival. You guys want to go out for a date night? You know what? I'm a little busy.
Yeah. You want to drink a bunch of bourbon and Cokes? That's snug. You're not going to be able to do that, are you? It's a great spot, by the way.
There is something that
You got to play the long game, Andy.
Yes, again, you have to play
I'm with you.
it. Yes.
I'm fine with it. This is my wife battling, potentially, probably not her family. This is not me. Not at all. Good
Coming
stuff.
up in
Anyway.
a few, Lin Dunn, by the way, in a little over 15. Something I want to get to. Justin Fields had a comment post-game. We haven't gotten a chance to get to it, that I thought was a hat tip to Gus Bradley. And, this is something I've been kind of asking for, pleading for, frankly. And I thought it was certainly a critical juncture of the game. But we'll hit that here coming up in a few.
Yeah, let's do that. So the Justin Fields conversation plus on the other end, for Big Ten fans in the area, the Big Ten is meeting with the SEC, and it's going to have some ramifications on college sports and college football. We'll talk about that and Justin Fields. What did he say about Gus Bradley? We'll do it next. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Wake Up Call, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Lynne Dunn, 15 minutes. The great Lin Dunn. We'll put a bow tie in the Fever season with her coming up in a few. I wanted to make sure we got to this before we started kind of fully transition to the Jags coming up on Sunday for the Colts. Again, it will be Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, 1 o'clock kick. Colts and Jags. Colts a underdog in this one against the winless Doug Peterson bunch here. So go back to Sunday, that final drive, Andy. First off, great pump by Rigoberto Sanchez. And then, Pittsburgh moves it a little bit those first couple plays. And then they have the wild snap situation.
Yep.
And I chalk so much of that up to, backup offensive linemen panicking in the moment.
Yeah, I put it on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's being sloppy in a big moment in the game.
Justin Fields' quotes afterwards stood out to me, though. Fields said this. He goes, "My fault. We're on the first leg kick." That would be Fields, of course, lifting his leg up. And center Zach Frazier was IDing stuff. I felt the Colts defensive backs rotating and changing the back-end picture. So he was IDing, that would be Frazier, the center, telling the offensive line where to go, and I was just trying to get that final picture before the snap came. So at the end of the day, it was on the first leg kick, so after I kicked my leg, I got to be ready for the ball no matter when it's going to come out or not. Pre-snap disguise, pre-snap movement, not being vanilla, create confusion, seeds of doubt, indecision. All of that are things defensively that I've been asking, again, pleading for with the Colts, because that leads to moments of panic for the other team, particularly when there are backups in there. And that is what you saw. And in that moment, you obviously made Justin Fields think twice, maybe even a third time, about what you were going to do. And Fields is trying to wait and wait and wait. And there's a panic moment by the offensive line, maybe even by Fields. And next thing you know, you've created confusion for them. You've helped put them into those indecisionable moments. That's what you want to see. The blitz rate for Gus Bradley, it's still one of the lowest in the NFL. I'm going to live in reality.
Yeah, it's going to be.
He's not going to be Brian Flores tomorrow or, Bill Belichick or whatever. But those sorts of things, especially at big-time moments in games, Andy, it can lead to this stuff. So a credit to Gus Bradley. And clearly, it had an impact on Pittsburgh.
On Monday, we talked a little bit about this, but I had not seen at all those Justin Fields comments. And, it's not surprising. During the broadcast, Archuleta and others there on CBS were talking about, Gus Bradley doing some different stuff, applying some pressure, being a little bit more confusing, like you say. I think it's a good thing. And listen, Gus Bradley is a valuable piece to this team, because this team on defense has a lot of injuries. I mean, we could see a decimated, in a lot of ways, defensive line. We'll see about a guy like Kenny Moore as well. I thought the edge that team played with was a credit to Gus Bradley for 3 quarters. And in the fourth quarter, obviously, the dam kind of broke there. But, the play you're mentioning happened in the fourth quarter. They still were not a bust in the fourth quarter. When they needed to stop, ultimately, they got it. I think, Sunday against Pittsburgh was probably, over the last couple years, you help me here, KB, was probably one of the better moments for a Gus Bradley-led defense. Would you agree? I mean, maybe the numbers, but just
till the end. I mean, I don't want to crown them by any means. Justin Fields still, I believe, had the second highest passing yardage total of his career. So I'm not ready to go there. But
I have a low bar. I had a low bar for them on Sunday. I don't mind admitting it. I had a low bar for them.
I mean, Pittsburgh's offense hadn't scored over 20 all season. Again, I'm not ready to put Gus Bradley into Canton here. I want to be clear, but I still am ready to give him credit to a degree.
When he gets his gold jacket, do you want to intro him like Jim Irsay did? You want to be on stage?
There's no Ring of Honor or anything like that here, but I think we're starting to see a little bit of it. And I went back and watched the play. If you watch it, Julian Blackmon is clearly communicating with Jalen Jones, and Nick Cross is kind of moving pre-snap. And, I don't want to act like it's exotic 11 guys standing up and you have no idea what's going on, but it is at least something that had an impact here.
We're so used to not exotic that when we get just a little bit exotic, we do 3-4 minutes on it.
I mean,
it was a big play.
If that
it was a big
is
play.
not errant,
I know.
I'm probably betting on Pittsburgh to at least force a game in overtime.
To at least go to overtime. I'm with you. I mean, they had 100% of the momentum. Before we get to the top of the hour, reminder, Fever GM Lin Dunn going to join us coming up here in about 8 minutes. I wanted to bring this up just as something for fans to keep in the back of their minds, okay? So coming up later this week, I believe it is, you are going to have the officials around the SEC, Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey specifically, are going to be meeting in Nashville because
those are the league commissioners.
Those are the league commissioners. Those are the two individuals who are going to be running college sports if they're not already. I have always thought that Greg Sankey, he loves being a part of the SEC and running the Southeastern Conference, but he wouldn't mind being the czar, being the Roger Goodell, if you will, over college football. I think that probably is his end game. So they're going to be meeting, and among the things that they're going to be talking about, of course, all the pressing issues in college football, and I also love how this gets leaked out. Like Ross Dellinger and Pat Forty and everybody else, Adam Rinberg, all the college football guys have been talking about this, that, coming up here in 2026, so in a couple years, they're going to have a chance with the new contract to change the college football playoff. And the reason I bring that up is, and listen, there might be some basketball ramifications to all of this, but we understand what football means. For IU and Purdue, even though not in the college football playoff, here are the things that they're meeting for this week. The Big Ten and SEC, essentially, I'm reading from Pat Forty's article on Sports Illustrated, they're going to have the conversation and put together a plan that in 2026, when the new college football playoff comes in, that they're going to have unequal playoff revenue for the SEC in the Big Ten. In other words, we're going to be playing the same games you are in the ACC and Big 12 and Pac-12, but we're going to be making more money. Our cut is not going to be the same as your cut. Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, whoever may make it. I'm using the ACC. So that's number one. So more money for the Big Ten schools. That's number one. And number two, Sankey and Petitti are going to want control over the future format of the college football playoff from 2006 to 2032. Meaning, and by the way, ESPN involved, meaning the thought here is that they would push for an expansion to 14 teams where the SEC and the Big Ten would be promised 4 teams each.
Oh,
and so they would be, not essentially, they would be rigging college football if they got their way. And I don't think they'll totally get their way, but I think they'll get their way more so than not. And, of course, they say, we have all the money and the TV partners. If you guys don't like it, you can play over there. We can play over here. I think it is the next step in that conversation, in those two conferences saying, we'll play over here. You guys play over there.
Why did I think they had different TV partners? I thought SEC was different than the Big Ten.
The Big Ten is on what? They're on Fox
and
what
else?
But
mainly Fox.
Yeah,
but we've seen games on NBC.
Yeah.
Hell, we saw Purdue on CBS earlier this year. That's weird to me. Isn't the SEC, ESPN, and ABC?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. I don't like it.
ESPN is over they own the college football playoff right now. That would be the question is, ESPN, the thought is they would lose some of that everyone would get a piece of the pie of the college football playoff, and ESPN is saying, well, we don't want to do that.
14 teams doesn't sound good to me at all. 8 guaranteed spots, those 2 conferences.
Guaranteed spots.
Doesn't sound good to me at all.
I know.
Can we just let 12 breathe for 5 to 10 years?
No, the answer is going to be no.
I know what the answer is, but
yeah, the answer is no.
Pisses me off, frankly.
Lynne Dunn, 9 o'clock hour, Fever GM. She joins us next.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
9 o'clock hour on a Wednesday, and I must admit, it's a little bittersweet as we begin this segment. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversations with the one, the only, the great Lynne Dunn all year long, and I'm a little sad it's coming to an end here, Andy Sweeney.
I'm very sad. I don't want to see her go. I feel like we need to check in here in about a month or so. I'm not happy.
Lynne Dunn joins us.
Hey, maybe we should do a monthly check-in just to make sure everything's okay.
What? No, I think this is a great idea. Are you good with that, Coach?
Sure, I love talking to you guys. Y'all make my day.
Look at that. All right here. Mark Dykton,
I like it.
Pencil this in. Monthly check-ins with Lynne Dunn.
I'm writing it in pen. It's permanent now.
Sharpie. I mean, put it down.
Write that down. Yeah.
What is the offseason going to look like for you? Obviously, you've got some things on the checklist, but, maybe for you personally, Lynne Dunn, any trips planned? Yeah. Obviously, books will be read. We know that.
Yeah, I got a good one for you today. So we're still doing exit interviews. I'm finishing up the exit interviews. I've done the players, the support staff, the assistant coaches. Got a couple of more key executives that I need to do some interviews with today and tomorrow, and then I'll head to Tennessee to have a little quality time, and then get back to work because we've got to get ready for the expansion draft early December. The new Golden State team's coming on board, and we'll get to protect 6 players, and then they'll get to pick somebody from everybody's team. So I'll start preparing. We'll start preparing for that.
All right, we're going to reset with Lynne Dunn here. We know the phone's just a hair sketchy on this Wednesday morning. We obviously care extremely about what Lynne Dunn has to say, so we want to reset. That expansion draft
I forgot about that.
Was a question on the list, and I believe you can protect 6 players.
It's 6 players, yeah.
We'll ask her, I guess, have they made that list and what that would look like there. I think you can get probably 4 or 5 on the list that are pretty obvious there. And then, I assume Kelsey Mitchell as a free agent would fall into the boat of you can protect her.
That was going to be my question. When do we get Coach back? That was it right there.
Those are some things I want to ask for. Right now in the semifinals, by the way, Liberty up 2-0, the Sun and the Lynx 1-1. Those are your updates WNBA-wise. Here in the finals.
I don't know. I know we're getting Coach back. I don't know if you happen to see this or not. And listen, I'm not trying to be the guy that's only promoting. That's only. I'm trying to find it here. That's only promoting Caitlin Clark, but her final WNBA playoff game where they lost to Connecticut. 2.54 million viewers during that game, and that's that was a
Colt Sunday, right?
Yeah, that
NFL
is,
Sunday.
That is witching hour going into the beginning of the 405, 425 games. 2.54, the best game since Clark and the Fever were eliminated. 929,000 viewers. Again, not trying to be that guy, but 2.54 on an NFL Sunday. That is a massive number from Caitlin Clark and the Fever.
We got Lynne Dunn back. All right.
Yeah, I'm here. Hey guys, nope. Be the Caitlin Clark guy. This is Caitlin Clark phenomenon. Let's give her flowers where flowers are due.
Amen to that.
When you can, that's just her rookie year. Imagine what's going to happen next year. So we're all excited about the viewership being up. We're all excited about how many fans are following the Fever and Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell, and we're just looking forward to next year already.
Lynne Dunn with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline, Fever GM. The growth of Caitlin Clark's game. I think I asked you about this a couple weeks ago, and I think you mentioned more consistent three-point shooting, and that might be your answer. But the growth of her game this offseason, where do you think it can go?
Well, I think she's going to continue to get stronger, physically stronger. She's 22 years old. She's playing against women that are, 30 years old that have been in the weight room, all those years more than she has. So she's going to get stronger. I think she's also going to continue to get better at eliminating some of those turnovers. We like some of the passes that she tries to make, but I think she'll get better at that. I think she'll get better with her runners, her floaters, her pull-up jumpers, mid-range. But she's got a pretty good package right now.
Again, the great Lynne Dunn, you know that voice. She's with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. I want to go back to that expansion draft you were talking about when your connection was lost. Walk us through that. You're able to protect 6 players. Is that correct?
Correct. The Golden State team will come on board in December, and every one of us will protect 6 players. It will be confidential. Nobody will know who was protected, and then they can pick only one from each team. So we've got enough talent that it'll be challenging. We'll have to leave a couple of people unprotected, and then that's how they'll build their team. And then they'll go into free agency in January and try to go after some of the unrestricted free agents that are available.
So you are allowed to protect Kelsey Mitchell, even though she's a free agent?
You're allowed to protect any of your players that you want to. That's your risk. She's an unrestricted free agent. We can protect her if we want to. It's possible. It's up to us.
Lynne Dunn with us here on this Wednesday on the Payless Liquors hotline. Those conversations with Kelsey Mitchell, are they happening? When will they happen? And obviously, I know you guys want to get her back badly.
Well, of course, I think you guys know that Kelly Crosskoff has come back. I don't say she's come back. She's come across the street over to the Fever to help us move forward with this franchise at this unbelievable moment. And so Kelly will now be in charge of the business side and the basketball side, and she will be making the decisions, and she will be negotiating with Kelsey and her agents. And I can assure you we'll do everything we can to keep her.
Your biggest offseason priority is what?
Kelsey Mitchell.
Period.
It's an easy answer.
And I tell you what else, guys. Looking at the 4 teams that are in the finals right now, we need a couple of more players. We don't have as much talent as New York and Connecticut and Minnesota. They're a couple of years ahead of us. So we've got to go into free agency and look for a talented veteran that can take us to the next level.
Skill set wise, what's on your mind when you go there, Lynn?
Well, we want people that can fit into our system. We're going to run. If you're going to play with Caitlin Clark, we're going to play up-tempo, fast basketball. But at the same time, I want you to be able to spread the floor, get to the rim, and then defend. We know that our defense was a little better, but it's not where it needs to be. The 4 teams that are in the Final Four are all the top 4 defensive teams. So that's an area that we've got to continue to address.
You may already know the answer to this, and I'm doing this a little bit. You know, the Pacers, when they had Halliburton, we talked so much about other players would want to play with Halliburton. I imagine here early on, you guys start talking to free agents. There are going to be players that want to play free agent-wise with Caitlin Clark because of how she gets them the ball, everything else?
Absolutely. We're already starting to hear some initial conversations with some free agents letting us know, that their player might be available for a trade or that they might be available in the free agency and that they would love to play with Clark.
The one, the only, she is Lynne Dunn. She's been with us every Wednesday here for the past few months. We have thoroughly enjoyed the conversations, and she is with us here again one final time as we close out this, or put a bow tie, I guess, on the Fever season. Lynn, is there and I don't know, it's probably a stupid question. Is there one moment when you look back on this season and you'll think of that maybe more than any other things?
Well, I think it's probably the first home game in a total sellout. I mean, people are hanging from the rafters. I've never seen that at a Fever game. And you've got all of these young kids and girls and boys and adults, covered in Clark jerseys, and I'm like, wow, what is going on? So just a moment there of thinking, hey, this is not going to be like any season we've ever seen before.
I guess last one from me, increase in games next year. Are we going from 40 to 44? Is that official?
That's official. As far as I know, I think it's more than a recommendation, and I think that's good for the growth of the league. So we're looking forward to having those extra games. I know we are at home, but we sell them out on the road, too.
I was about to say, yeah.
Amen to that. I was going to say all your road teams are happy about that.
You need a cut wherever you go. Yeah.
And then
yeah.
Playoff-wise, are we going to get to best of 5 right away? I me, I hated the best of 3 format. I hated the road, and then home. Can we change that before next season?
Well, we're definitely dumping the 2-1 thing, which is absolutely ridiculous. Hopefully in the first round, it'll be the best 3 out of 5. Now that we've got this visibility, TV wants to, televise our games. They're sold-out arenas. There's no reason why we can't start the first round with 3 out of 5.
Lynn, I can't tell you how much we have enjoyed these combos. I think I speak for Andy and Mark, and I run into people publicly, whether it's over at Colts practices or just out in public, and they're like, Wednesdays at 9 o'clock, I have to stay in my car for at least 10 or 15 minutes to make sure I hear everything that Lynne Dunn has to say. So I think I speak for everyone in the community in saying thank you for the time. Unbelievable season. glad to see it back on the right path and cannot wait to continue these next year with you.
Well, thank you, guys. I don't know if they wanted to hear us talk about basketball or what the book of the week was. I think maybe it might be both. But I want to say one thing. One of my all-time great heroes passed away, Pete Rose. I was a Pete Rose fan, Charlie Hustle. I pulled out the book. I'm going to read it again, and I encourage everybody to read the Pete Rose story because he was one of the great baseball players to ever play our game.
I think that's where you get some of that competitive spirit, I would say. Lynn, congrats.
Charlie Hustle, yep.
Thank you as always.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Let's try to get these once a month here moving forward.
Monthly catch-up. I got it.
Lynne Dunn right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. I am not shocked at all, Andy Sweeney, to hear Pete Rose would fall on the idol list of the one and only Lynne Dunn. Obviously, similar in age. I think just about 5-6 years separating those two there. So, again, I can't tell you how many people and all types of people, frankly, have come up to me and been like, I have loved the Lynne Dunn interview. And she's right. It's not just all the basketball. It's some of the other stuff as well.
Yeah, her excitement, her energy is infectious, is it not?
Oh, so infectious.
I mean, it totally is. So, yeah, I would echo your same statements there, or sentiments, I should say. It's been fantastic. Our little groove we've had on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock. And to me, they have, if you think of it like the NFL, they've done the hard part. They have lost. And they have found their quarterback. They have found their star in Caitlin Clark.
And they really lost.
And they really lost to get there. But they have found it. And they have found her. And they have an opportunity now with just the, attendance they have at home and on the road. And then, I mentioned 2.54 million people watching that game between them and Connecticut. I mean, during an NFL Sunday, to me, and there's other things on, you have big-time baseball games that are coming down to the final week or so of the season is just absolutely substantial. So they are the team, and there's a lot of nonsense around them and a lot of people trying to use agendas around them, but they are the team in bringing Mitchell back and going out, what I love about that conversation, KB, was, her openly talking about we got to go out and get more talent in free agency. I mean, I love to hear that. I mean, if I'm a fan, I don't want to say, we made the playoffs in the fight. No, go get me more talent, and they're going to do that to put around Caitlin Clark. So they are a franchise to watch, and I don't know if they have an internal number, but, in the next few years, the expectation is going to be for them to be in the finals and to win a championship.
Well, I thought the answer about Kelsey Mitchell being the biggest offseason priority was very reminiscent of Rick Carlisle with us.
It was the exact same answer
3 or 4 months ago about Pascal Siakam. So that's your biggest individual question. And I thought Lynn laid out there very aggressively, frankly, what the offseason needs need to be about, yes, people that are willing to run, spread the floor, but ultimately defend. And what does that sound like?
It sounds like the Pacers.
It's
unbelievable.
And now they're in a little different boat than the Pacers.
Right.
They can, I think, they're not paying Caitlin Clark tomorrow. So, Tyrese Halliburton's situation, Pascal Siakam's situation, tad different with, even Aaliyah Boston, I guess, would fall into that category. So, she pointed out top 4 teams left, the top 4 defensive teams on top of that. So, gosh, I love me some Lynne Dunn.
It looks like the Aces might get swept up.
They're
here,
down 2-0, right?
Yeah, they're down 2-0.
And these are best of 5.
Yeah. So that's not good. They're best of 5. So you go up 3-0, you're done.
Connecticut,
it's
Minnesota
over.
tied at 1. Of course, Connecticut, the team that knocked the Fever out.
We should have a monthly brunch with Lynne Dunn. Brunch, beers, and basketball. Let's go.
Man, I would love that. You imagine us 4 and just reading books, just slamming them back.
I have some listeners come out. Let's go.
I wonder if should have asked her this, if she's gonna be going to any college basketball games. Right? I mean, she'll probably attend a few basketball games.
Certainly, yeah. I know she went to a whole lot, certainly in the Big Ten here last year. All right, Colts' first practice of the week coming up here in a bit. The conversation that I've kind of hit on today is, again, how much practice time does Richardson need this week? You think he could miss today and they'd still throw him out there Sunday?
Yeah.
Because we've yet to see him.
I think he can
have a limited practice week and then play on a Sunday.
Yeah, I think he can. Where I came down, I think Stephen Holder mentioned that much as well. Stephen was pretty forceful, I thought, in the 8 o'clock hour, If you miss any of that, check it out, 1075thefan.com. He mentioned a lot in that in the 8 o'clock hour how, he thinks there's a pretty good chance that AR can play. He also said, it might come down to more of a pain tolerance thing. So that tells me that they're not worried about maybe mobility as of yet. And of course, whenever it gets down to pain tolerance, we always want our athletes to play. The injury thing makes it a little bit difficult, but where I come down on Anthony Richardson is, you just got to, it's a little bit of what Greg Doyle wrote about on Monday. It's like at some point he's got to go out there and play. If he's struggling, he's got to go out there and play. If he's a little bit nicked up, he's got to go out there and play. I mean, we got to see if this guy, and I think this is a good opportunity, KB, this week that, you have a guy who is battling through something. Can he go out there and be effective in doing so? We haven't seen him try to do that yet.
It's almost like we all need to raise our right hand on Friday and be like, do you want to see Richardson play or not?
I know.
Because if you want to see him play, then that means you can't come back on Monday and say,
complain about it.
Man, Richardson looks so bad. He took a big hit. He suffered another injury.
Put in Flacco.
He should have never been out there. It's almost like we all need to, sign a piece of paper here.
Like an oath.
On that end.
A blood oath.
Because I can listen to both conversations.
I know. Me too.
Certainly hear you out on that, Andy, and I have been one that from day one of Richardson being drafted have been such an advocate of you don't want to see Minshew, you don't want to see Flacco. He needs all these reps. Andy, if he plays a half of football on Sunday, that'll be the second time he's made it to halftime on the road in his NFL career.
You always have a little stat like that that's like it's the first time or it's the second time in his NFL career that he's done something that makes you sit there and think, yeah, you're right. The guy hasn't played much football.
It's just, virgin eyes. I guess you can joke a little bit about it, but it's true. I mean, he's
Virgin
never seen
eyes.
well, I guess he has played in this stadium, hasn't he? Isn't this where the cocktail party is?
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
So I just...
How bad did they lose that game when he was in college?
Oh, gosh.
Because that was a very, very mediocre Florida football team.
He probably wanted to jump in the pool there in that stadium.
Here's the thing. They're in a spot to where, and more, we'll know more today and obviously tomorrow. And by the way, guys, how difficult is this going to be to pick the game on Friday if they have a bunch of players who we don't know if they're going to play? Like on Friday, am I going to know if Kenny Moore is going to play? Am I going to know if Jonathan Taylor is going to play or Anthony Richardson? I think the worry you have here is we know that Joe Flacco, and Steven mentioned this, we know that Joe Flacco can win you a football game. Not every backup quarterback can win you a football game. You talked about Brian Hoyer on the Colts a number of years ago. If the backup quarterback today were Brian
Chillier
Hoyer,
than a Wednesday morning here in Indy.
If it were Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock, I'm using the Giants, then I'd be saying, no, the quarterback needs to get his ass out there. I think there is a Joe Flacco could win us this game. And then the other thing, and I understand it, but this is where I have changed, is on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, I thought there's no way in hell you can go out there and throw AR out there. He's not going to be 100%. And if you throw Anthony Richardson out there, not at 100% or right near close to 100%, he's going to get injured again. Like I would feel confident going into that he's going to have a play where he's laying on the ground and, Joe Flacco's going to have to come in. That's where I've changed. That at some point, unless it's a concussion and obviously a serious injury, at some point he's just going to have to get out there, and we'll see if he can do it, right? I mean, that's the unfortunate thing. If they don't play him and it's Flacco, that's one conversation. If they play him again, they got to run him, right? I mean, that's the other part of this. If he's going to play, then 6, 7, 8 times Sunday in Jacksonville, Anthony Richardson's going to need to run the football.
I mean, is this like a perfect storm for the Colts, like heading into Jacksonville? Like it's almost fitting that it's been a house of horrors for them, and now you don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Your star running back is banged up. You've got this litany of injuries, and you have a winless Jaguars team that's desperate to get a W.
What if they treat Richardson this week like you mentioned Josh Downs earlier in the season? That we're giving him a week so we know he's totally right and gets the full practice.
Yeah,
this is a quarterback that has struggled mightily. If anyone needs practice right now, it's Anthony Richardson.
Right. I don't think that's the end of the world. Like, I am with you, and again, every rep he really, really needs. But I don't think that's, like, the stupidest idea in the world.
Well, I think Joe Flacco can win them the game on Sunday.
And there's a level of think back to Matt LaFleur's comments about Jordan Love. Can you protect yourself? That was kind of the big thing he kept on coming back to with Love. And I know that injury was knee, and this is, obviously, a little bit more in the midsection of the body. So it might be a tad different, but still, I think that's a legit fair question. Can you protect yourself on that end? I don't know if anyone cares, but Joe Flacco did start and beat Jacksonville last season with Cleveland.
No, did he? Yeah.
311 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. So
he's got a hot hand as well.
Again, I don't know if that matters a whole lot. Do we need to go through all of the Jacksonville losses?
I think you have to.
Yeah, Josh Hines, Allen, who else?
Well, no.
Oh, you mean just their losses?
Just the losses.
I thought you meant how many players they've lost this season.
Like, is this a therapy session? Like, we have to talk about it, or is this something that?
I think it's a real issue.
I think
they cannot win in Jacksonville.
Maybe I'll save it for Thursday or Friday, but it is wild that this started. Again, the Colts thoroughly beat Jacksonville down there in 2014. Andrew Luck was great. It was a beatdown. That next year, they go down to Jacksonville. If my memory serves me right, it was kind of late in the season. And at that point, they had won 16 straight divisional games. 16 straight AFC South games. They were on the doorstep of going up 20-3 in the first half of that game. And all of a sudden, a weird Hasselbeck started that game, so I guess it was a little earlier in the year. Now that I think about it. Fumble return for a touchdown right before halftime. So instead of 20-3, it now becomes like 13-10. And next thing you know, they put up 41 in the second half, Jacksonville, on the Colts. They beat the Colts 51-16. When it was about to be 20-3.
I can't remember the last time I can remember an NFL team putting up 41 points in a half.
And then Think about it. Blake Bortles did it the next year. Blake Bortles did it one more year. Then Cody Kessler beat the Colts 6-0. Gardner Minshew has 2 wins in this realm. And Trevor Lawrence each of the last 3 years.
Okay.
2 years ago, we got the, bleep, Matt Ryan sucks. That was in week 2. It was like, whoa, like he's not good.
Like he's terrible. Okay,
they got shut out down there.
That was Jacksonville. You know what else they did? Mark, you may have seen this on the broadcast on Sunday against Pittsburgh. They went through like the last 3 years who the quarterbacks have been. It was Kenny Pickett versus Matt Ryan that year. They went through the last 3 years, and they're like, yeah, they're the quarterbacks.
She's on the sideline this weekend, right? That is Aditi. I would butcher her last name.
I butchered her name. Yeah, it's the same crew, right?
We're getting into the Spiro Archuleta crew quite a lot.
Okay, so why don't we do this? We
got them on speed dial.
We have a check down coming up here. Why don't we do this? And you started it there. On Thursday or Friday, would we like to have, maybe we could lay you down on a couch, bring in some sort of couch to the studio and have the KB therapy session with the Colts in Jacksonville and relive some of those tough, heartbreaking moments and embarrassing moments that the franchise has had against Jacksonville?
And you would label this as it's necessary. Not that people want to hear it, but it's necessary.
Well, no, yeah, you go to therapy. You need to put out there your issues, right? You can't internalize. You have to throw them out there so we all can vocalize and work through those issues. Well, that's my thought.
I just think the people are like, well, the Jaguars stink. They're winless, but then you're looking at all the Colts issues too, and like, I don't know, man. They're a desperate team, and we have struggled mightily in their stadium. So I don't think it's as big of a walk-off hit as everybody thinks it is.
I go both sides on Jacksonville. There are some stats, and again, Trevor Lawrence has been wildly inaccurate this season. They're talking about him in Jacksonville like we're talking about Matt Gay here in Indianapolis. It's to that, he's been more inaccurate, frankly, than Anthony Richardson, if you look at some of the deeper accuracy numbers, not just strictly completion percentage. So, boy, I know we got Mike DeRocco joining us on Friday to talk more about the Jags, but Doug Peterson's answering questions about the job. And it's never good when he's answering the questions and then he looks sideways at the questions. He's like, wait, you're asking me about my job security? Have you seen the players?
Oh, man, I thought Doug Peterson would do better there. I did. It looked like he was going to, but not the case.
All right, should we check it down?
Yeah, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Marion University Football, pursuing another NAIA championship this season. Don't miss the on-campus action at Ascension St. Vincent Field. Visit NUnites.com for tickets.
All right, so let's start there. Gus Bradley, defensive coordinator, he met with the media yesterday. He was asked about Trevor Lawrence. He was asked about Jacksonville. KB, I know you were on that conference call listening to that, and or Zoom, I should say. No one does conference calls anymore. Gus Bradley trying to make Jacksonville sound like a dangerous team.
Once he gets into a rhythm, he starts getting into a rhythm, he's really good. So it's going to be important for us to understand. We know there's the quick game, the RPOs, but there's the shots too. And he's got a lot of threats on the perimeter, a lot of guys. He doesn't go to one guy, but he feels comfortable to use all of his weapons. So, we're seeing him back there play with some poise. They just have, had some misfortune.
Well, and I guess we should feel the need to mention he's gotten in a rhythm against the Colts quite often. 70% passer against Indianapolis, 9 touchdowns and 2 picks. I mean, this has been one of the teams he's frankly been pretty good against.
Wasn't there a game he had like 16 straight completions or something like that?
You're right. Yep. I think you're right on that one. So, obviously, a huge storyline not only down there but up here as well. It does look like here upcoming it's such a critical stretch for the Colts, but from a pass defense standpoint, some of the teams are really struggling. So I do think in September the Colts saw some pretty good defenses, particularly on the back end. Not necessarily the case here in October. All right, Major League Baseball from yesterday. 3 road teams got it done, and so now they will all go for the win. It's a best-of-3 series here in the wild card. That would be the Mets, the Royals, and the Tigers. Sad to see Joel A. Erickson's Brewers lose 8-4. Low-scoring affairs throughout. And how about the effort from Michael King, the lone home team to win yesterday, the Padres. King strikes out 12 in 7 innings. They shut out the Braves for nothing. So, again, all 4 of these games, it'll be AL, then NL, coming up today, beginning at 2:30.
Yeah, the big news around the NFL right now, Devontae Adams has, requested a trade. The Raiders are open to making a trade. 31-year-old right now, he has a hamstring. He's week to week, which tells you with a hamstring injury week to week that they're going to protect him. He's going to protect himself so he can go to, contender. Ravens, Bills, Commanders, all 3
Jets.
of those teams. All 4
I don't
of
know
those
if they're
teams.
A contender, but...
Well, they're 2-2 like everyone else in
right.
the,
Like
in
the
the
Raiders.
NFL. Yeah, just like everybody else. So.
The only other thing I was going to add, Braden Smith, Purdue point guard. He is your Big Ten preseason player of the year. Umar Ballo on that first team from Indiana. He is the transfer from Arizona, the big fellow there. Again, the Big Ten does a huge first team, 10, 11 guys, I think, on it. So Braden Smith, your Big Ten preseason player of the year. You'll see some media day notes the next couple of days from Chicago.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how many more shots someone like Braden Smith gets this year without Zach Edey, right? Getting 20-plus a game or whatever, he eventually averaged out. All right, so we have a pop quiz, 239-1070, and a couple different sounds of the day. We'll do it, and we'll do it next here on The Fan on this Wednesday.
Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with KB and Andy. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
All right, a couple ticket giveaways here for the pop quiz. It'll be that USA Lacrosse Experience. So 317-239-1070, full weekend passes. This is coming up next weekend, the 11th through the 13th, over at Carroll Stadium on IU Indy's campus. So you'll definitely want to check that out. We'll do that all week long on the pop quiz. And then in a few, we'll have Butler football. Their head coach, Mike Yuremovich, they got homecoming this weekend. They're undefeated. Purdue grad, McCutcheon product, Coach U, as they call him. They've had a nice start to the season, so 4-pack of tickets. Looks like a nice weather day coming up this weekend to Butler's homecoming game.
Now, we were talking about this with Matt Taylor last week. Do we know if Butler does any sort of homecoming court during halftime, or do they do that at the dance afterwards? And, of course, I know they don't have a dance. That's the joke. I mean, do they have,
Are they not putting a tarp down on Hinkle's Field, maybe going in the West Gym, Hinkle's Court?
Do they have a king and queen at halftime? That's what I need to know.
Brad Stevens, somewhere, I'm sure, is going to put the crown on Pierre Brooks or Jameel Telford.
Well, he's too busy taking the IU job. How dare you? Yeah, he's just coveting that job so much.
His son on Micah Shrewsbury's team up there in South Bend.
Maybe that's all they needed to get all those 4 and 5 stars.
Amen. All right, where are you going here for a number on the pop quiz?
Let's go caller number 3 today, Mark. Caller number 3.
Kevin.
No.
Hey, Kevin.
It's a nice name.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Kevin, how are you?
I am fantastic on this Wednesday.
That is great to hear. Got to go somewhat quickly on this pop quiz. Good luck, and Andy Sweeney, go ahead.
All right, Kevin, let's get a winner here. Question number 1, MLB playoffs underway yesterday with the road team winning 3 of the 4 games. Name the only home team to win yesterday in Major League Baseball. There you go.
Padres.
Number 2 here, Kevin. Padres second baseman Luis Arraez won the National League Batting Championship in 2024. It's the 3rd year in a row that Arraez won a batting title, doing it for 3 different teams. Can you name one of the 2 other teams for which Arraez won it? Oh, boy. Kevin, you know your baseball.
Boy,
Nikes.
Yes, sir.
Scotty kind of smiled on that one. I think Scotty's worried about Kevin right now.
Yeah,
I think he's worried about what's going on.
He's not worried about Kevin Bowen. He's worried about Kevin the caller.
He's definitely not worried about Kevin Bowen. Question number 3. Name the last player to win at least 3 straight league batting championships in Major League Baseball. Tony Gwynn, Jose Altuve, Miguel Cabrera, Larry Walker.
I think it was Altuve. Tony Gwynn.
Number 4 here, the Hoosiers football team can become bowl eligible with the win Saturday over Northwestern in Evanston. They're a 2-touchdown favorite. Hoosiers are off to a 5-0 start for the first time since their 1967 Rose Bowl season. When was the last time the Hoosiers won their first 6 games in a season? Was it 1945, 1942, 1910, or it's never happened?
Never happened.
Question number 5. The IU Northwestern matchup pits the 2 longest teams, 2 losingest teams in college football history against each other. The Hoosiers have lost 713 games, while the Wildcats have dropped 704 all-time. Which school is 3rd on the all-time college football loss list? Is it Rutgers, Kansas, Iowa State, Wake Forest?
Rutgers.
Man.
So you tell me for a second day in a row?
That's 4 out of 5. Kevin, the only one you missed was number 3.
And he got 2 stabs at it, too.
I know. Miguel Cabrera won 3 straight league batting championships, 2011, 2012, 2013.
Kevin, great effort.
Well,
boy.
It was fun while it lasted.
Mark, I feel like he deserves more than
He did. He's getting
treating him like
tickets.
Tristan Thompson and
He's
the
getting
Kardashian here. By the way, a IU football note. I saw this earlier in the week. So we know 5-0 for the first time since '67.
Right.
5-0, all by double digits. It's the first time they've won 5 straight games, all by double digits since 1905, bleeding into the 1906 season. Among the teams that they beat in that 5-game double-digit win streak.
Oh, God, I can't imagine.
Back 05-06, they beat Wabash.
Okay.
Shout out to Little Giants.
Right.
You know, we had issues with IU scheduling Western Illinois earlier in the year, although Wabash maybe could beat Western Illinois. They also beat the Indiana alumni team.
Oh, did they? I like that. Congratulations.
Can you imagine? They're scheduling the alumni team. Is this Mark Cuban coming back for like a rugby alumni match at IU?
That's fantastic.
I think Notre Dame was on that list
Who was
as well.
it? It was Western Illinois that they faced. Who was the team? You just said it wasn't Western Carolina.
It was Western Illinois, yeah.
Was it Western Illinois? Well, I was trying to see what they've done since the Leathernecks, right? What they did. Okay, so they have played 2 games. They actually won a game.
Really?
They lost 51-13 to Illinois State, or 51-34, which is a close game, and they beat McKendree.
Who?
49-32. Is that a D3 school? Yeah.
Oh, so they played like the equivalent of Wabash then, right?
Yeah, and they only won by 17. There's no way Western Illinois covered the number against McKendree there. 17-point win? No way.
Kevin can't use the tickets because he's a high school official, so he cannot go. He's busy this weekend. So how about this? Fast fingers to get a pair of tickets. USA Lacrosse.
There we go.
You think you'd be a good high school official?
October 11th through 13th.
317-239-1070. Boy, I've thought about that, and I just think I'd struggle with the parents. I would really have some issues there.
I think I could do it. I think I would enjoy it, but I don't want to start doing 8-year-old games and middle school games and then work up to, Carmel.
I mean,
something like that.
People like Kevin, I mean, again,
God bless
major
him.
hat tip, God bless him, etc. Yes, I mean, all of that, yes, is needed because that is a very, very thankless job. And, I thought about that last Friday when we have all these games postponed from Friday to Saturday. You're asking all these officials that are doing other stuff. They might be doing other games.
Well, they got a life.
I mean, hell, some high school officials might be doing, Butler's homecoming game or, Wabash or Hanover, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you, Kevin. Thank you to high school officials.
Really, it's just high school and baseball. That's where you eject a parent. You kick them out of the park. You make the cop follow them out
I think
to
there's
their
some
car.
other sports that I'd put on that list as well.
It's some good stuff there. All right, Coach U, Butler football. We'll talk about it next as we wrap up Wednesday's show right here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I heard that song on Monday. Ironically enough, Bowen family took a little walk over to Butler's campus. You know, Maddie was out of town. She wanted to hang out with the kids. We did a little picnic over on Butler's campus, and sure enough, in the woods, Max Bowen's hearing is impeccable. He says, "Daddy, drums," and I'm like, what? Next thing you know, it's the band playing in the drums.
I like that. What was the picnic? Little PB&J or what?
What do we have there? Pepperoni. I mean, yeah, let's not act like it was anything great.
Okay.
Pepperonis, a cheese stick.
That sounds fantastic.
Some grapes, some carrots.
Man, look at that. I like that. It's a great family thing.
And off
it's
in
an
the
all-American
distance,
family thing, a picnic around Butler. Come on.
You heard that legendary fight song, and you'll hear it Saturday. Homecoming for the Dogs, Morehead State. To talk more about it, we'll give away a 4-pack of tickets at the end of this to their homecoming game. He's head coach of the Bulldogs, Mike Uremovich, joining us. I think we'll go with Coach U, if he doesn't mind, for this interview. Coach, good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing great, man. And Coach U's fine. People can't say my last name, so I'm good.
Well, I tried to give it my best effort there. Hopefully,
you did a good job.
Okay.
You did a good job.
Hopefully I didn't butcher it too much, but you guys score a lot of points, and I was at the Davidson game last year. You scored a lot of points then. You are an offensive team. Is that correct?
We're a good football team on both sides of the ball. You know, it's a team game, and we have been playing pretty well offensively, but defensively we've played pretty well our first 4 weeks, got some turnovers, and done a good job keeping people out of the end zone. So we like to say that we're good in all three phases.
Yeah, they are. Last 2 weeks, Andy, they've outscored their opponent 116 to nothing.
It's not bad.
That's what they've done. Offensive Player of the Year each of the last 2 years in conference here. Coach, I thought about this with I think it was Tyler Adams, who had a brief cup of coffee with the Colts. You guys, I think, have benefited a little bit transfer portal-wise and even dipping into the Ivy Leagues, have you not?
We have. We've done our staff's done a real nice job of getting out there and locating kids that are graduated from the Ivy League. They can only play 4 years of football there, so they don't get a redshirt year. So there's guys who are looking to continue playing, and a lot of them want to get their MBA, and Butler has a really, really good MBA program. So it's a nice transition for them to come to Indianapolis, continue their career, and leave with an MBA. And we've got, I think, 12 or 13 of the Ivy League guys on our team right now.
Wow, that's awesome. No, I had not thought of that. It's Butler Morehead State coming up at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Coach, you with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Morehead State, how do you guys beat them? What kind of team are they coming into your place on Saturday?
They got a brand new coaching staff, and they're much improved from the last 2 years. So they'll be a good challenge for us. They won their first conference game over the weekend, so they're coming in 1-0 in the league, and it'll be a good test for us on both sides of the ball. They're pretty explosive on offense, and defensively they run an odd front, which is a little bit challenging. And today's our third down red zone day. That's what we do on Wednesday. So we'll see how we prepare for that today.
I was going to ask you, new coaching staff, how are they different from the last couple years? Anything specifically?
They're different in all three phases. They're different offensively, defensively, and they're doing some different things on special teams. The guys doing a real nice job over there, and they're playing really hard on defense. They're running to the football.
Butler 4-0 on the year. Coach U is with us, the Butler football coach. Again, homecoming, as we've said, Morehead State coming up 1 o'clock this weekend. This is your third year, Coach, at the helm. When this job opened up, I know you went to Purdue and a McCutcheon grad. Why did you want this as a head coaching gig?
You know, I had spent the last few years at the FBS level. I was at Northern Illinois and NC State and Temple, and you know, Butler's a special place. If you meet somebody in Indianapolis, and I've learned this since I've been here, within 5 minutes they tell you they went to Butler. I mean, you get a great education. The kids get to play FCS football. There's all the stuff going on in Indianapolis, from the 500 to the Big Ten championships to the NCAA tournaments, all the stuff that goes on in Indy. And I really like where I'm coaching at right now, because these kids and our staff love the game of football. I'm not dealing with NIL. I'm not dealing with agents. I'm coaching football the way it was intended to be played by students, and it's a lot of fun.
Coach, you with us here again. It's Butler Morehead State coming up Saturday, October 5th. That's this Saturday at 1 o'clock. Are you a rah-rah guy? What's the speech before you guys go out there each and every Saturday, especially homecoming Morehead State?
If I got to give them a big pep talk, they shouldn't be playing football on Saturday.
Fair enough. I figured I could tell by the way you speak that was probably going to be your answer. Yeah.
Coach, last one from me, and I'm looking at the schedule. This is your first conference game of the year, correct?
Yep.
Walk me through how the playoffs work at that level.
So FCS has a playoff, and our conference gets an automatic bid to the national playoff. So just like the Missouri Valley does and all the other conferences in FCS. So whoever wins our league will get a chance to play in the national playoffs. The way they're seeding it this year, they're actually going to give buys to more teams, so it'd be a better matchup for the Pioneer League champion in the first round. Our league has won a couple of playoff games in the past, but honestly, going into it, it's kind of like being the 15 or 16 seed in the NCAA tournament for basketball. You're not going to be ranked real high. You're probably going to play on the road, but you know what? You still got to play the game, and you can win it.
Sure. How many teams make it?
32.
32. Gotcha. Well, it's been a great start. I was over on campus last Saturday with the kids. We stopped by the basketball open practice, and as we were heading out, had some nap time to tend to. It seemed like a lively atmosphere in the bowl, and I don't know, you guys rolled last week, so hopefully weather looks great. Hopefully it's a fun atmosphere coming up Saturday. Let's take that call right now, Mark. 317-239-1070, a 4-pack of tickets. Coach, good luck, and thank you for the time here on this Wednesday morning.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks a lot.
Mike Uremovich, Butler football coach. Again, right now 4-0 on the year. They beat Murray State 19-17 earlier in the season. I always view Murray State as like they play one of your old schools. I feel like
they always play Kentucky or
like
Louisville
or Kentucky earlier in the year. So that's a nice win for Butler.
Oh no, yeah, they get paid $1 million and a half. I mean, I think Murray's went to Alabama.
Yeah,
they don't mind going out there and no offense in some cases getting beat up.
I'd assume that's a good win for Butler there, and that's interesting on the Ivy League aspect to it. Again, Tyler Adams, for those that were curious, he was with the Colts a couple of off seasons ago, a Harvard product, and then went to Butler for his 5th year, and then had a cup of coffee in the NFL. So good on Butler for they've kind of benefited in an angle of the portal I would not have thought too much about.
A couple things, actually 3 things. Number one, see if I can remember all of them. Number one, Coach U spoke like a football coach.
Oh, how great was his answer?
Offense, defense, and of course special teams. All 3 phases of the game, Kevin Bowen, okay? So he was very much a football coach, which I love. I noticed you winced when he mentioned his former coaching stops, including Northern Illinois.
I did.
I noticed. I didn't bring it up. I didn't want to rub it in. I didn't know if he wanted to have fun about that. I didn't know if he, was still friendly.
Don't believe he was with Thomas Hammock and Company. I don't think Rod Carey and Company.
I don't think he was. So I did not bring it up, but I saw there was a little bit of flinch.
Yeah, I did. I know.
You gave a little flinch there, and then when you guys go picnic, do you just have the cooler, or do you do actual picnic basket?
No,
because I contend no one has a picnic basket.
No, I don't. We just strollered it over there. We have like a little blanket that we threw on the grass.
You just throw it under the stroller.
I mean, boy, I couldn't sound softer or more sentimental right now. But like I said, this is the weekend to do this stuff, folks. You want to couch it up. College football the next 2 weekends. I mean, Butler is a beautiful campus.
Oh, it's great.
Great campus.
I know.
So we walked right there past Tinkle, and you slid by the Chatham. I mean, it did cross my mind. I'm like, Maddie, can we go get a couple beers at the Chatham Tap?
Could you run in there?
Are we allowed to bring them out? Probably not on a college campus.
They have an outdoor. They have an outdoor patio.
I know, but like bring them out.
Sure,
take them into the. Scotty, what's that area called? For some reason I'm thinking Coxhale Gardens, but that's up in Carmel.
Well, Scotty doesn't know. I'm not going to know.
That area on Butler's campus.
When you were dropping 1905 baseball before that interview, I think Scotty was dialed into that conversation. I think he was like learning something. You were impressing him when you were talking Reds baseball in 1905.
Now, we did stop into the Butler practice that I mentioned.
Yeah,
they
what
had
happened with
open
that?
practice on Saturday.
Tell me.
You know who was, by the way, Pierre Brooks, Jameel Telfort, I mean, just like they were last year, great players. Patrick McCaffrey was scoring. And I'm like, I feel like at Iowa, I just am used to the McCaffreys like being role players. Patrick McCaffrey, there was a lot of talent there.
Okay.
And again, he is transferred over to Butler. Connor McCaffrey, of course, on the staff. Caitlin Clark was sitting on the bench taking in the open practice there. But I liked what I saw from the Bulldogs. So, last year when you think back to their season, Andy, they were like a 9 seed, and then they just fell off the cliff the final month of the year.
Well, they had a couple big-time wins. Who did they lose to? Was it Providence they lost to on the road?
That was the real heartbreaking one.
Yeah, where they led a lot of the game. They led in the second half, and then they had that terrible final possession, and Thad Matta was running all over the place.
Holcomb Gardens. Thank you to the great John Dedman on that.
Well, there you go. Glad you got that. I'm glad you got that worked out.
I think Thad Matta is going to join us here coming up at some point in the month of October.
Listen, I think they should be talking about NCAA tournament, and
should
everything.
and need.
Yeah, should and need.
I would throw
sure.
that in there.
I got no problem with that. Yeah, I always kind of peg the McCaffreys as they're going to shoot the basketball.
See, I don't remember them doing that much at Iowa.
Yeah,
I always thought they were like role players.
Yeah, I don't know why that's the case. Now, did Caitlin Clark have her bodyguards around her or not? Her Secret Service, were they around her? Or?
Yeah, I would say it looked like a bit of a protective state. I mean, nothing too crazy, but at the end of the day, we're there to watch Butler's practice.
Who's that 6'8" guy who's 285?
People just bombard Caitlin Clark.
Well, I like that. I didn't know they had an open practice.
Yeah, Smack Bowen's favorite thing was
he likes going?
Was Blue the Bulldog driving the car.
Oh, wow. He's doing stunts and everything?
Well, yeah. I mean,
on an
obviously
open
got
practice?
a little bit of a remote control car, but, Blue's in it. I mean, it is pretty funny to watch.
And then you had to go nap time.
And then we had to go nap action.
Okay, well, that happens. What do we have tomorrow? We have Hammer in at 9:30. We have
We'll
John
talk some
Herrick.
John Herrick, IU football. Again, we've
some
mentioned
IU
that.
football.
We'll do that. Maybe some Tony East action, and then we'll certainly have Colts updates. Andy, I'm off to Colts practice right now. It's probably one of the more notable Wednesdays of the year, considering Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, perhaps Kenny Moore, and more. So good stuff today. You miss any of the show, 1075thefan.com for the podcast. JMV at 3, Jake and Jimmy at noon. Have a good afternoon right here.